Mic check. Excellent. I can see brother Dom and sister Catherine, saying that right, in the forum. So just so you know, we're there. We'll send you. We'll add you to the page very soon. We're gonna do the intro, and then we'll go straight there. All right. All right. Tell everyone we're live. Let me see if I can put the magazine up. Hold on. Share. Welcome everyone to the Betterment Broadcast. I am your host, Brother Raven. I'm just gonna find a PDF. There we go. Found it. So let me put it there. Welcome to the Black Man Broadcast. Is the 196th time. There you go. That we're making an attempt to collaborate with the Black community to fix the Black community. How good. Don't forget to follow us on Black Betterment Building Broadcast, the actual Instagram, which is there, Black Betterment Building. We'll go through this very quickly. We understand about white supremacy, anti-Black racism, and the Ma'afa. These are what we call the triple tragedies. These triple tragedies causes the double dilemma, which is we are despised and we are disorganized. And to that, we have one solution that we're presenting, and that is, let me shut that door. That is the Black Betterment lifestyle. So Black Betterment is a lifestyle of Black people continuously helping Black people. There you go. And that's what we're dealing with. So that's what we promote, and we focus on the triple triumphs, which is Black families, Black economics, and Black health. So don't forget, tell your friends we're live. And we are joined by two guests today that we shall invite up after we start, and we give the brief intro of what we're about. Don't forget, before people jump in, don't forget about discipline, dedication, dignity, and discernment, the 4D values. These are what we use when we try to communicate and find solutions with Black people. It's very important. If not, we might have an anxiety fest. So please remember the 4D values. And please do not use derogatory language at all unless we're doing a case study on the actual terms. But generally, we try to use it for multiple reasons, but it just makes helping Black people easier. Right. So two topics. We have Black barbecue invitations. We discuss why not everyone from other communities should be invited to Black spaces. And the biracial perspective, a biracial guest gives us their perspective on reparations and Black marriage. So we've got two guests coming in. What I'm going to do, I'm going to invite them in because it's best because guests take priority. So let me invite Brother Dom and Brother Sister Catherine. Welcome to the show. Can you hear me, brothers and sisters? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
But we can. You can hear both of you. Now, if you have any problems, just let us know. Welcome to the Black Betterment Broadcast. I suspect you might have not heard the show, maybe seen one or two if you have. So is that right?
No, I haven't. So.
Cool. I'll explain. So basically, this is a broadcast, but what happens is every week we try to find challenges that the Black community are going through worldwide, but we're based in the UK, and we try to offer solutions. And the primary solution that we present is what we call Black Betterment, which is a lifestyle of Black people helping Black people on Black issues. That's it. It's like a lifestyle, and we're trying to implement that as best we can. And we use this as like a marketing and a case study to see how we can do that. So yeah, that's basically what the broadcast is. And we invite people to speak on to try to find solutions as well. We also watch videos of issues or things that we think might be problematic or things that might need improving or things that work really well. And the areas we tend to focus on at the moment is families, economics, and health. And I think what we're going to talk about today will probably intertwine into, well, all three to be honest, but primarily families, then economics, and to an extent health. So yeah, so what I'm going to do, let me just tell the guests, don't forget we got two live speakers today. Tell your friends we're going live. In order to give people time to log on and all the rest of it, what we're going to do, I'm going to play some videos. And by all means, you can give your comment on these videos. It's very random videos that I came across on the internet. And what we tend to do is for the first 10 minutes while people are getting warmed up, is we just look at videos and I personally give a Black Betterment perspective on what the videos are saying or doing and so forth. So at least I can find those random videos that I came. And then we shall talk about the videos that I think the guests saw that we interacted on, which is why they're here to give their perspective on some stuff. So let me see what I can find.
They know that.
Yeah. Oh, there's a cool little motivational thing there by brother. What's his name?
Yeah, those.
What's Denzel? Brother Denzel. Let's sort of little inspirational thing.
They know that.
Yeah, those who can do. Those who can't talk about those who can.
I need to
I'm gonna say it again. Send that out. Those who can do. those who can't talk about those who can.
Yeah.
Now, can you or can you not? Or you just...
There you go. A very important quote there. When you do black betterment work or public work, you get a lot of criticisms, a lot of trolls. But the truth is, those who can do, and that's done. Let's not forget that out there in the internet. That's what it's about. Those who can do. Let's see what else we got. Other videos. Hold on. Oopsie daisy. Nope, that's a bad one. There's a little motivational one from a young sister there. Hold on.
So, if you have an afro, that is so wonderful. It means that you're special however you want. If you don't, it's okay. You're special as the same person that has an afro.
Fantastic.
Love yourself, okay, guys? And you got to stand up for yourself. You have to love yourself.
There you go, young sister there, talking about loving herself and loving her afro. A very good inspirational thing I saw from her page. Just thought I'd share that. We want to get as many children to be have high self-esteem in the black community, love their hair, love what makes them distinctly different and unique, and also make sure it doesn't weigh them down in some way. So getting them on board as young as possible is always good and constructive. Let's see. Hold on. Nope. Let's see anything else. All right. Right. So let me. All right. Oh, let me get this video. So this is, I think. So let me just pause it here.
That's it. I know.
So let me pause. So I think Brother Dom and Sister Catherine. I think I probably spoke to you at two different videos. So I think one of the videos was of a mixed couple, and they were saying they were experiencing abuse. I think it was not abuse, but people not abuse. It was people they don't want to follow them anymore because they found out they're in a mixed relationship. And
yeah, that's how I found out about it.
Yeah, and I think in that I asked a question, and the question was, does your European partner, does your partner support reparations to the Caribbean or to the African side? So that's some kind of question like that. And I think it started a massive debate. Well, not, but it started a thread. I think at the moment the thread's at what 700 comments. I would say 97% of them is abuse and angry. But it's something that we also talk about tactics of the questions to ask rather than arguing. Ask questions. And I think Brother Dom jumped on that. Well, I think Sister Catherine, I could be wrong. I think we were interacting in a video like this where the sister's talking about she has a European mum who taught her pro-blackness, and then I think, is that right, sister? Is that correct?
I was messaged by someone because of a different conversation that I saw where basically somebody said that if you procreate with, just the word procreate annoys me, but like he said that if you procreate with someone outside of your community, you're actively building against the black community.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's the same panel but different topic. Well, that's good. So let me play this. Let me play this because, and then we'll talk after. But this is like an overlap of both, I guess. But this is.
Is my white nan.
Yeah.
My white nan, I'll be honest, my white nan, she's 70 years old. She was kicked out of her family for having black kids. She was kicked out of her family for having black kids.
Yeah.
And she trotted along, found herself in Borsalleaf all the way from Worcester and raised these black kids and ended up having 4 of them. And she made them so they're all mixed race, half black, half white. She made them so pro-black. Half my mum's pictures from when she's younger, she's in like Black Panther t-shirts and so pro-black. So then I was raised pro-black. As far as I was concerned, I'm black. When I was growing up, I said I'm gonna have black kids. What other colour kids am I gonna have? And my son, he's black. So obviously my dad's black. That's all I know. But then I grew up and I met other black people, and I got told I was a half breed.
Yeah.
I get that frequently.
Yeah.
I'm actually 3/4 black. It's rude anyway because my dog's a breed. I've got 2 different breed dogs. I'm a dual heritage person, a mix of races. But yeah, half breed's a common one that black people like to call me, and I just think it's ignorant because I'm too light to be black.
But white people call you that as well?
I went to Terves Green Girls School in Kings Norton, and there was only 3 black people in my year. I didn't actually realise I was an outcast until I turned around and looked, and I'm like, okay. And there, I had to be pro-black. They used to say things to me like, why'd you speak funny? I'm like, I don't. Because I'll go to my dad's house in Winston Green and my family's saying, you sound like a white girl. So for me, being dual heritage, what is pro-black?
Yeah.
Where's my point of origin? Where do I begin? I'm pro-me. Mm-hmm. I am pro-black, but then there is a percentage of the black community that will tell me I don't qualify.
We got Brother Dominic, a very important contributor to the show. We're joined here by Brother Dom and Sister Catherine, and we're about to start the show. Very important topic. So we have the topic at hand is Black barbecue invitations. We discuss why not everyone from the other communities should be invited to Black spaces, and the one we're focusing now is biracial perspective. Biracial guests give us their perspective on reparations and Black marriage and other things connected to that as well. So yeah, there you go. So family who've joined, did you want to speak about what you just saw in that topic there, what the sister said there, and then I can jump in and jump out, and we can then go to what we were talking about before, if anything.
Yeah, sure. I mean, who Dom, do you want to speak first, or?
You know what? Because you had the interaction over that video. I think you two should start first on that. I'll talk after you.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So I feel like I can resonate with what she was saying quite a lot. Like, I'm mixed race. Like, my dad's British, my mum's Nigerian. I grew up in a predominantly white area. I was like the only person of colour in my school for a long time, which already made me feel like an outcast. I think like the first time I remembered, or the first time I became like aware that I wasn't the same as everyone else, was when I was probably like 5, and my teacher asked like, so class, why do you think Catherine looks the way she looks? Like, why do you think Catherine's skin is like darker than everyone else, basically? And then this like really brainy kid was like, oh, it's because she's mixed race, it's because her mum is Nigerian and her dad is white. And I was like, oh, I didn't even realize that people were looking at me like so different. And growing up in a white space, obviously, like, you realize like, oh, your hair's different or your skin's different or whatever. Used to get made fun of regularly for like the way, not like the way I looked, but I guess I was just different from everyone else around me. And then when I got older, like when I started going to college, was when I guess was like introduced to like the Black community like more. And yeah, I it's weird because you get rejected from like both sides, and I think that's something that like a lot of Black people fully Black people like don't necessarily experience. Like, I think they might experience obviously like racism from different cultures, but like they have somewhere to go back to, whereas I was just being judged. It felt like I was being judged left, right, and center. And I do find like things like half breed or diluted, like those kind of like phrases, like really offensive. And I think for a long time, like the story about mixed race people, biracial people, has been told solely from the perspective of people that are fully Black. Like, oh, you're so privileged and you're so this and you're so that and da da da. And I'm like, why don't you ask me what my story is and let me tell you what my experiences are of being mixed race? Because it's like any time a biracial person says anything about their experience, it's like, oh, poor you. Like, it's not, there's no empathy. And it is very difficult to not feel like you fit in somewhere. And then I've been like mocked, like, oh, well, you're just clearly confused. I'm like, I'm not confused. I feel rejected, but I'm not confused. Like, following 2 different races is not, it's not overly complicated. Like, I know my dad's British, I know my mum's Nigerian, but the confusion or the pain comes from like not finding anywhere in society to accept you.
Well, that was thanks for that. That was very important. That's definitely something we need to know, and it's we see a pattern of that in many brothers and sisters. But Dom, did you want to add to that? Did you want to? Sorry.
Well, I can relate to this the situation. I'm half Black, half white. But on my dad's side, my heritage is British, and on my mom's side, my heritage is Jamaican. And yeah, there is a bit of a other-ism to it, because you can get it from both sides in it. So if outside of your family, because obviously your family will accept you But so you kind of like you grow up with you was saying the black side of your family was saying accepting you and kind of just embracing you, and the white side of your family accepting you and embracing you. And then when you go out into the world, you see certain individualistic things. It's just I was pretty lucky because the way my mom kind of raised us was to be assertive. Like if we did get any backlash for being mixed, because people did say things, you know what I mean? Like no one gets through, no one gets out without getting harmed. Everyone, I think it happens to everyone, no matter your race. I've seen it on both sides. Like I said, I've got like a white side of my family. I've got white friends, and I've seen them actually get the same kind of treatment. So it kind of opened my eyes that it's not just. I think everyone kind of feels othered, so it kind of makes you feel better because when you actually speak to people about it, because I know it's hard to open up, but I think as a community in general, that's one thing we need to do as Black people. We need to open up more because that's the only way to kind of get your sanity. If you stay within an echo chamber or within a place where everyone is like you don't even know if what you're thinking is correct anyway, because everyone's going to be agreeing. You're better off kind of doing kind of what we're doing, coming with maybe disagreements, but we don't know yet until we hash it out. You know what I mean? So I kind of look at like, yeah, there is an otherism to it, but I feel like it's universal. So that's my take on it personally. So I try not to hold that. The only thing I look at people for now is just their traits. Like, are you a good person or not? That's kind of it to me.
Thank you for that. Yeah. So thanks for that fact. Thanks for that from both. Now I'm gonna say this, just so you guys know, this in this particular broadcast, we always trying to look at challenges that attack the Black community or affect the Black community, and we recognize that the Black community have different ethnicities, different combinations, different heritages, and different languages and so forth, right? Different creeds and all the rest of it. There are tons. But we try to tackle as a whole, but then also individually. So I think one thing is we say Black race, and then we use race to represent reconnected Afro-centered ethnicities, right? Just as just like a branding kind of thing. So letting people know that all the ethnicities who are identified as Black or overlap as Black are welcome to practice Black Burman. Now, what I would say is if we go with Catherine first, because I think, am I saying that right? Catherine,
right?
Yeah. Catherine. Catherine. So I think on the page where me and you interacted, and stop me if I'm wrong, I think the emphasis was promoting Black men marrying Black women. At least that's the angle I would have came from, and why that was important. And I think I think a comment you said was something about the offspring, as in like the children of a biracial parenting or union, and not being as valuable or something like this. Or do you want to? Shall we unpack that just so we can understand how kind of why we're here? Is that?
So I think the comment I made was that, from what I remember anyway, or what started this whole thing was someone saying that, like, so it was someone that basically said that you can't be pro-Black and marry outside your race.
Yes.
Yeah, and then went on to say, like, oh yeah, like, how can you be Black, for example, and then like choose to procreate with them? And I'm very like particular with language. Like, I've got a psychology degree, and I'm not saying that like, oh, I can read everyone and I know everything. I just say that human beings have like a certain type of behavior. Like, we're not that unpredictable as people. And the word procreate, it's so like mechanical. Do you know what I mean? It's so like animalistic almost. It's just not a way that people, like human beings, relate with each other. I wouldn't say like, oh, me and my husband are trying to procreate, or me and my partner are trying to procreate. We say we're trying to have a baby, or we're trying to expand our family, etc., etc. And I think sometimes like people don't realize like how kind of like what Don was saying earlier about, if you're conditioned or you're in an echo chamber to believe a certain thing, you don't even realize like that reflects in the way you speak about things, whether you're meaning to insult someone or not. Just choosing certain words because it helps you detach from the idea of someone, for example, being in an interracial relationship is just, it's so frustrating. Because I think that there would have been a time where white people would have said like how disgusted they were by other white people that were dating black people, and that's obviously not accepted. So I don't know why on the other end of the well, no, let me not say I don't know why. I get it. I get on the other end of the spectrum why it doesn't feel like it's as terrible to hold those opinions, especially when you've had like a long history of being discriminated against. But then it's still like kind of waking up to the idea that there may be somebody down the line that is hurt by the things that you say, or the things that people believe. And I think at the end of the day, we're all out here just trying to like protect ourselves from deep wounds. But in the process, we tend to hurt others. And I don't think it's intentional, but at least we should have spaces like this where we can like bounce off each other, or just say like, hey, like the reason why we find this offensive is because of X, Y, and Z, and like really like hold that and not try and, well, you're mixed race, so you're closer to white anyway, so you should just take all of our baggage. Like, no, like we all have the right to like self-respect, and we all have the right to like voice our own opinions, etc., etc.
Yes, excellent. I'm trying that now. So that's a very important point there. You mentioned language and that and how things are presented and said, and the detachment within the language, as in, you know, taking unions and marriages and partnerships as, you know, like these kind of very harsh words, right? Almost taking it out of humanity. And one thing we try to say here is we try to have correct words of how to use words correctly to cause unity and to not really push out, or at least to get direction. And we spend our time literally writing things. And one thing I would say is we can present certain things, but whether people the length it takes for someone to accept it, or to go around the internet, because it takes certain kind of time, right? But what we do here is we look at, so if I break those, so I'm going to explain the position that Black Bearman has and where it comes from, and how we try to deliver it to minimize anxiety. And that is right now there are three primary focuses that, so we look at certain areas that Black people are struggling in worldwide, but let's say the UK as well, and that is Black families, Black economics, and Black health. Right, so each of these are topics that we can expand as in challenges that Black people go through because of the history of so many things. Well, to be honest, it's because of these three histories, really. It's because of the white supremacy, anti-Black racism, and the Martha. But those trickle on to us being inadequate ourselves in how we, you know, self-reflect and come together, or not come together. So with those three things, the first thing says, okay, well, if families are one of the things we're trying to fix, then we'll go, okay, let's make Black men constructive and find constructive Black women. So when we say that, that's like the automatic of what we're trying to achieve. But what's happening now is how that's being said, or the way it's being said, has triggered where the focus is never on the children of mixed unions. It's more so the individual as a member of the Black collective making a choice to fix themselves inwards, become constructive, and find a constructive woman to start a constructive family. So the output is be constructive, marry Black women, but the input is the things we're trying to fix as a community, right? And that's what we try to market and brand here. So one thing we're trying to do is when we are talking about the choice of the actual individual picking someone else, not to focus on the children of the union, that if someone has gone to another community, right? As in if you have one Black parent, you as an individual can practice what we are promoting here and are part of the community and can do all the things that we're saying, right? But what's happening is, I think like you were saying, is because it was said in a certain way, or because you interpret certain things, it has triggered this kind of conversation, and now the focus is on the children of a mixed union, when it should be more so the members becoming constructive and find a constructive partner within the group. Now, that was a long thing there. I'm sorry about that. But
No, that's fine.
yeah, that's the position. But what I'm saying, what we're trying to refine that position or destroy that position, depending if it's a bad position, we don't know, because that's what we do. We find ideas that work in Black people's collective best interests. So by talking to you, because you guys both have one Black parent, one is your mother is actually from Nigeria, and one, the father, I believe, is from Jamaica.
No, my mom's parents from Jamaica.
So but both of you, it was the Black woman who picked the European man. Is that correct? Just so we understand that break. Is that right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. Right. There you go. That's actually quite that's not as common at least on this panel. But that's another.
I'm sure we've heard that a lot in it.
Yeah, and to be honest
Catherine.
with you, we have strategies of how to talk to the community. So me myself as a man, I tend to talk to Black men about why it's important that Black men pick Black women. I never really talk to why Black women should pick Black men, but our sisters jump on and they do. But it's not really an issue in the sense of like there isn't a complaint that Black men feel they cannot find a Black woman, but there is a complaint that many Black women cannot find a Black man or a good Black man. And that's something that we try to listen to and unpack and find solutions if it is in fact true. So now that I've said that to you, Catherine, is there anything? Do you feel a certain way about us heavily promoting the members of the community marrying within the members of the community?
I don't have an issue with it, like, per se. I can't say like, oh, why are you promoting like Black people to marry Black people? But I just want to know, like, does this pertain to African or Black people or whatever in the
Did you say in diaspora? Is that right? Sister, can you hear that? Your microphone might have jumped or something. I'm hoping it didn't. The sister, before she cut, I think she asked, did this pertain to people in the diaspora? I think. If you log out and come back in, it might fix it unless your phone.
Hi,
Oh,
can you hear me?
Did your phone ring or something? Yeah.
I got a phone call.
Oh yeah.
Does this pertain to the people in the diaspora? Because as far as I'm aware, there's Black families, Black economics and Black health all over the world.
Yes. Yeah. So what it is we have. So basically, there's two metrics we can look at. We can look at living in a land where Black people are the minority, and then living in a land where Black people are the majority. So if you're the minority, there is a heightened importance about trying to have a base, like an economic base and a family base, where you can guarantee maybe economic employment, or try to heighten the guarantee of economic employment for people coming up, find work for people to live, find partners, and have like a circular structure that is consistent. Now we observe this in like Jewish communities, Asian communities, Pakistani, you name it, right? So, but unfortunately, we don't necessarily see it, at least as strong as it might have been many years ago in the Black community, because the Black community, we find they're psychologically integrated into other communities, more so European or white. So we see that from an economic standpoint and a family standpoint, that doesn't work in Black people's collective best interest. So, but I don't think we're aware of it, or we're too concerned, or we look at other things. So I hope to answer your question. All Black people, and that's one Black parent, two Black parent, born in the Africa, out of Africa, we are talking to them, us, and we're all welcome to overlap and practice Black betterment together in some format.
It sounds like you're saying like, oh, there's a lack of Black families, when that's not necessarily true.
Good point. So I think, so basically,
Yeah, and I don't think the numbers are going down either. I think the numbers are going up. If you really look at like ethnicity to ethnicity, if anyone's numbers are going down, it's white people's, because they have less kids.
Well,
And
like
Black people are the
biggest families I've
minority of
seen.
the planet. Like there's more Black people on the planet in general.
Good point. So what we do is, because the Black world is a massive place, it's billions of Black people. Because we're all based in the UK, we can use the UK just for now, then we can expand it.
Okay. Yeah.
So what we find is in the UK, especially within the Caribbean community, ownership of resources and housing is going down in the Caribbean community, and also Black Caribbean men marrying black women or other Caribbean women is decreasing, and obviously interracial is growing. Assets are now transferring over to other communities, and men are spending a lifetime funding other people groups. So this is what we see in the UK. This is not something that is observed that works well in other communities like Jewish, Asian, and so forth, and Pakistani and Bangladeshi. But within the black community, because of our unique history, this is what's happening. So that's why, even though we've been here the longest as a collective in the UK, our economics isn't. We're not leading in economics. So Jewish people, even though they're a small number, they're very good economically. They're very good at family and having structure that continue. Black people, not so much. We're one of the worst. So when it comes to outnumbering in marriage and stuff and births, well, it was not really in the UK. In the UK, there, if it continues like the way it is, there won't be what your traditional kind of sense of a Caribbean family, and it will always be of a mix where you have one Caribbean person and then one non-Caribbean person, and then eventually there's something that they call in Brazil. It was an operation called Operation Ham's Redemption. And basically what it was a technique that the Brazilian government used, and Argentina used it as well, to condition black people to never want to marry black people. So that way, claims to reparations or building up certain structures will never fall into black hands at that point, because they felt the black people were outnumbering. But gradually that changed. And we're seeing by osmosis a similar thing when it comes to black people not marrying or not being and not creating business with other black people and building up other communities while our communities diminish. So this is where it comes from. And we're gonna, before you jump into this, this will then segue into Dom's thing about reparations, but we won't go there yet because it's very important. We're gonna hear Catherine's point before we even get there. So go ahead.
No, I don't. Maybe I'm missing. I don't know if I sounded like I was going to say something specific. Not particularly. I think the only thing that comes up for me right now is when it comes to the betterment of the black community, or let's look at an individual. There's like a hierarchy of needs. Like this is just from like psychology. I'm not talking about like race or culture or anything. There's a basic hierarchy of needs that every person has to have before they can basically reach like self-actualization, which is when they are the best version of themselves and they can like accept their role in society and be like truly content.
Yes.
If you don't have, for example, like food is the like one of the most basic like needs, like food and shelter. You're not going, so in this hierarchy, I can't remember like exactly how it goes, but I know that like food and shelter is basically at the bottom, and then kind of like social interactions and love come sort of in the middle, or at least higher up. So my thing is, if we know as if we know that the black community is in such a state, let's just say, and I don't say that like I hope that doesn't come across like sympathetic or like lacks empathy, rather I say that like to say how it is. But if I don't see why like the talk of I don't see why the talk of like black people marrying each other is as important and compared to black people making money. Like when I hear pro black and I hear like, oh, being pro black, like supporting black businesses or supporting black economics, I think if if the black community can build itself up economically to take care of some of those basic needs, like
Yes.
having access to money, having access to credit, having access to building businesses, I think those other things will flourish. But I think where it seems like, oh, being pro-black means you have to support black business and marry a black person and do this and do that, I don't think the development of like the black psyche is actually going through its basic needs being met first. And probably more emphasis should be on economics rather than like seeing who black people should and should not date. That's just my own.
Now, before Brother Dom jumps in, we're going to unpack that, because what the sister said there was very important. And this is where we're going to talk about black families and black economics. So what we're saying here is there's a thing like we call ownership and also generational wealth. So the idea is the man, he is committed to the wife for hopefully forever. And the idea is no matter what's happening, he's always looking after and funding the wife. And what happens is, if the man is doing well for himself, he'll then create institutions, their own institutions. And then what happens is when, unfortunately, the man dies, the wife takes over, the kid takes over. But the thing is, if you don't have a ideology that connects you to any kind of constructive blackness or consistent blackness, what happens is the ownership of that institution that will then go. So, for example, we cover it every week. We cover the concept of like we look at other communities as well. So so we looked at, I think it was we looked at the first ever football player to play in the Premier League. He himself had one black parent, and what happened is he wasn't paid too well at the time, but they realized today this was like in the 19 or whatever it was. They realized that this guy they withheld a lot from him, and he did a big thing. So they wanted to give his family all the accolades for what they could never give him. So, but today they got his great granddaughter, and his great granddaughter is a blonde woman married to a white man. So they gave her all the awards, all the money, and then got her to fly to Ghana, the place of his ancestral home. And then they inherited all the first black person football players' assets, right? And this is what we're seeing when we see things like Bruce Lee from the Asian community, where he went to America. He started institutions. His likeness itself is an institution. He married a European woman, and then his European kids married the European white people. Unfortunately, his son died in the film when shot accidentally, they say. And then, as now all the intellectual properties and institutions that are made for Bruce Lee is now owned by Europeans, and then we can look at the
but Bruce Lee wouldn't see it like that though. Bruce Lee would see it as my grandkids own stuff. Like he's not gonna. It's like I get what you're saying. It's hard to do it like that. Like you can't do him like that. You know what I mean?
Well, no, we'll break down. So what you're saying is correct, but remember we talk about collectivism, and there's certain things we say that sometimes causes anxiety, and I'm about to say it. We accept that black people are collectively inadequate, and because we accept that black people are collectively inadequate, we're dedicated to change that. So how non-black people operate is how do we succeed as a group? So even though you might have that one person who feels this, so Bruce Lee was beaten up, unfortunately, by the Chinese martial art experts back in the day because he did something that they said was unacceptable, and that was he trained non-Asian people how to do kung fu so they could make economic money and actually defend themselves and stuff, right? This was a problem that got him in a lot of trouble because it was this was going through a time where he was going to cinemas and he was seeing people that what they call yellow face, where they would put yellow face and buck teeth and impersonate Asian people. So like, why are you teaching these people all our techniques and all economics when they're making money off mistreating our people? So what I'm saying is, this is when people start thinking as a group. So that European group, regardless of whatever happens, you always find that white people, whether they're family members or best friends, have by osmosis think as a group, but black people struggle to think as a group. So the idea is, how do we have templates that let black people know that ownership is important? So I'm just going to play you one thing now. This is very important as you've mentioned it. So let me just play this, see if I can find it. Hopefully it's straight to the point. I think it was this one. Let's play this one first. This one's smaller. Let's play this one over.
On that Michael Jackson note, did you just see how his so-called son, the white boy Prince Michael, is not willing to give Mother Jackson, Michael Jackson's mother, needs some money, and Michael Jackson's fake Caucasian son won't give his black grandmother any of his so-called father's money. That's happening right now. You for real? Yes, the white boy won't give his Michael Jackson's mother no money. They in court right now. And
But this might not have anything to do with their race.
No, well, hold on.
Not even that. Like you just said we're gonna take it like we can't be like individualistic and that like we have to take it collectively. But this is an individual, like, because I could find a video with what's name white grandkids that was giving their black grandmother the money. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
To me, I'm like, Okay,
Good point. Good point. No,
you can't tar a whole
I
group
think
for one person's actions in it, or even if few people's actions. You have to look at it like, well, really, if it
and I
was, if
sorry.
if it was
Sorry.
that much of a problem,
Mm.
there'd be more than these little anecdotals, because the mixed race population isn't that massive anyway. I live in Birmingham, and there's a lot of black people in Birmingham. There's a lot of mixed race people, but nowhere near as much mixed race people as black people. Nowhere near, if you know what I mean. And people can say it's catching up, but like me now.
So let me jump in,
I
brother.
think it's also quite dangerous to assess like the situations when it pertains to celebrities, because we don't know what is happening in their lives. Like it's
Yeah.
so easy to get sucked into like a headline, be like, oh, this is like, is that Dr. Umar? Like you're spinning a narrative. Like this is not about a white grandchild not giving a black grandmother. It's about a grandchild not giving a grandmother. That's it. Like,
Right.
and whatever the reason is, we don't know. But like, I could say that, oh, the short person isn't going to do this for the tall person, or the fat person isn't going to do this for the skinny person. Whatever my view is, doesn't mean it is. It's just
I hear that.
he's. It's like rage bait. It's
Yeah.
frustrating
Let's unpack it. So a good point you're making, both of you. So we do case studies here. So the concept I'm dealing with now is people thinking as a group, and black people very quick to give out things and then seeing how it doesn't work for the individual or collectively. So Michael Jackson is a very important case study because he's the most famous black man when he was alive, and he married 2 non-black women, and he adopted 3 non-black children. And what we're seeing is economically that doesn't work. So Michael Jackson's mother allegedly now isn't doing well. I don't know how connected they are or the story, but what we're saying is we see patterns. We see patterns of how black people go to other communities, and those other communities are doing really well, and but they're also able to get the best resources from the black community. Whether it's celebrities is like an iceberg. You'll see, but this concept works even in the everyday, but we don't have the videos of the everyday. We just have the testimonies of the audio logs, right? So the question is black people economically doing well? And if the answer is no, the question is what is to be done? So there needs to be a template, and you can observe that template in other communities. But what we have something that's called failure fabrication and success simulation. So whenever it comes to us, trying to describe black people doing well, it becomes a failure fabrication. So it's, well, you can't use that, or that's not wrong, or you can't, that's anecdotal. But when it comes to other people, community groups, they have success simulations. Or what if, he married a black woman, a white woman, and then she was a millionaire, she helped him out. This is what we see. I don't observe this talking pattern in other communities. So we just give the case study here. And we've got tons of these kind of analysis and case studies across the board. But here's what it is. If black community are collectively young, if our economics, our families, our health is low, if we have a history of challenges, then all we are showing you is what that data represents, right? So we could have a show with nothing, right? Just give anecdotal, here's what I believe. But all these videos that we see on social media, they collate up into the equaling of black people being collectively inadequate, and us always putting others' needs before our own. Now, the mixing of groups is where a challenge comes in, and we're talking about generational wealth and economics and so forth, right? But here's what the issue: as a person with one black parent, you are still within the black community as we see it today, right? So this meeting is to try to find strategies of how do we maximize the members marrying the members without people such as yourself feeling away. Now, as far as we're concerned, if you are a member of the group, that means everything we're saying you can do. So we would say, I don't see how there'd be any issues of us strongly promoting black men or members, whether mixed men or black men or mixed biracial women marrying within those groups, the biracial, the black, the overlapping, the African, the all the names, right? And it should be something that is undisputed as far as we're seeing. But somehow it's triggering. And then I think what you're saying is, let us not focus on black families. If we focus on black economics, everything will fall into place. But what we're saying is your wife, or your, especially if you're a man, is your first business partner. She's the person who's going to take up your wealth there, and spread it amongst your family or the group. And we don't find that there are non-black people who are invested in the black community, but also we don't see it as beneficial if we have to rely upon that system where we're relying on a non-black person to then fix the black community. So there's so many reasons why we can't support that. So let me just big up Brother Foster. He was going to jump in as one. He's always welcome to jump in as well. He's also a person with one black parent. But I think he works different hours. But go on. I think did you want to jump in, Dom or Catherine, for that?
I think there's just a lot of things that you said that I don't agree with. I don't agree that black people are solely out here like putting everyone's needs before their own. Especially and I say that as a Nigerian, like I'm very connected to my Nigerian roots, and I think if you had a bunch of Nigerians here and they were very honest and very blunt about Nigerians, like, and how Nigerians behave or Nigerian culture, that's not Nigerian culture. Like, yes, like you look after your neighbor, or like they're not selfish people, like, oh, they'll just let you die. It's not like that, but it's definitely every man for themselves. Like, it's not this like, oh, we're so gracious and we put everyone before ourselves, etc., etc. I think that has happened throughout history, but I think we're entering into a space now where it's like there is a narrative that is believed about the black community, and a lot of it's just not true. And so I guess my comment about like, oh, focus on economics and everything else will fall into place is slightly misguided. I understand where you're coming from, but there's a whole continent of black people marrying black people, black men, and even in Nigeria, for example, there are still black men that are creating wealth and then not leaving anything to their wives. And then when they pass away, their wives are literally thrown out of all the wealth that their husbands built. Like this is
sister. So just so you know, every time you do something that we want to study, or it's very important. So this is what we call failure fabrication. As in, you're right. We all can find something, but what we're saying is, either black people marrying and looking after black people is a good idea, or it's not a good idea. So the idea,
no, but
But it's not. It's neither.
it's
But
not
it's
an
neither.
idea.
You can't.
Yeah,
You
that's
can't say
exactly
it's
my point.
good or it's bad.
hold on, give me 1 second, Dom. You
Not solely based on race.
I know, I hear that.
It's
No, hold on. We're saying that there are templates that are valuable, and that is becoming a constructive man or a woman, and finding a constructive black man is essential. Like, this is an essential. Now, we understand some people don't practice that, or some people might be born outside of that. That's fine, but that individual, from a black parent standpoint, if you are a person with one black parent, right, and you stumble on any form of black empowerment concepts, that is what will be promoted. That the importance of becoming constructive and finding someone else in the group to become constructive with, so you can build your family and your community, and you have a collective concept whenever it's constructively possible. Now, what we're doing is we're having all these failure fabrications. Like, there's a rich Nigerian man, and he doesn't, he's rich, but he doesn't give his wealth anything. While and they'll give a success simulation to a European man, give it to his black wife or something, right? I hear that. What I'm saying is, does these concepts work in the collective best interest of black people? And that's why. Does that make sense?
But yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. But what I'm saying is, like, I'm not saying that, oh, there's one Niger. There's many. Like, there's many different stories about many different black men, and they all don't behave the same. Like, there's just stories, and I think that when we focus on things that like not make us feel better, but when we focus, because I can focus on things that make my narrative fit the way I want it to. And I guess that, and I know that there are definitely some things that we can say, no, this categorically happens within the black community 100%. But a lot of it doesn't, because we see that it doesn't happen that way. We've seen it happen like in other parts of the world. Like, there's, like I said, there's a whole continent where things like this are not happening and things like this are happening. It's just people being people. And when you say like, oh, like it's essential for a black person to marry a black person, I understand it as an ideology, but in reality, especially if you're a black person living in the diaspora, that might just not happen for you. And I don't believe that there's any such thing as being pro anything when you're like giving such strict confines to people, because it's almost like preaching how proud you are of being black almost negates how proud you are. I don't think white people run around talking about like, oh, I'm so proud to be white, and if they do, they're actually looked at a bit sideways.
So just give me a technique. Every time you say something that we need to unpack, we're just going to say sister. So yeah. So one thing we're trying to do here is, I'm saying that black people are collectively inadequate and white people are collectively adequate. I'm saying that white people are collectively in a superior position while black people are collectively in an inferior position. I'm saying
In the UK or in the West?
In every metric the world can put down, collectively, Europeans are in a superior position to black people collectively, right? Individually, you're going to find a homeless white man who drinks alcohol and Oprah Winfrey. But as a collective, because of the history of white supremacy, the Ma'afa, anti-black racism, colonization, and all the other shins in the world, we find that collectively, black people are not doing as good as Europeans. So if we ever try to give that kind of analogy, that if white people did that we can't do that because white people are collectively in a superior position, while black people are collectively in an inferior position. This discussion is a demonstration of black people being collectively disorganized. There is no need for a European to have a form of betterment or a form of pride upliftment, as in being identified as white, because white people have created the race catalogification, have gone around the world and dominated people's osmosis.
I think you might be misunderstanding what I'm saying. Like I'm not saying that, oh, white people like what if a white person did that? I'm not saying it for that reason. What I'm saying is that to truly reach like self-actualization, like I was saying before, like the ideology that, or the ideal state that every black person will know inherently within themselves that they are like a whole being, like that actual like deep inner repair. There's a power in emulating, at least to a degree, somebody that is successful. Like if you're willing to look at templates about economics, if you're willing to look at templates for family structure from other, you're basing this off of other communities. So in some ways your templates are actually reinforcing, you're saying it, oh, black people are inadequate.
Collectively.
But are they inadequate, or have they been in a or have they been dealt a certain hand? And how do we repair some of the emotional damage that comes with that?
You're making very good points, but remember, because we're educating as we speak, we're gonna go the framework of what you're saying. So when we say that black people are collectively adequate, that happens in what we call the double dilemma. So it's not in isolation. What we're saying is black people are despised and disorganized, meaning black people may know a friendly non-black person. However, collectively, black people have no friends, and black people can be individually efficient but are collectively inadequate. This conversation is a demonstration of that.
But on the world stage, that's the same for everyone, though. Nobody has any friends. Literally, everybody only works with each other because it makes sense. Like it's a fallacy to even think that anybody does anything for those positive reasons. Everything that anyone ever does is to avoid the negatives only. You know what I mean? They're trying to avoid the worst situation. So when you see trade or interactions between,
so let's unpack that. So what you're saying is good. So we will look. We do case studies there. So we look at like the spectrum. So you're right that goes on. But if we use Ukraine and Russia as a good spectrum, right? Ukraine and Russia, they have a history of the USSR, not want to be a part of each other, this kind of stuff, and they're fighting and they're killing each other, which is never nice. But what we found is that when the Ukrainians were and the Russians who were there were exiting and trying to escape the places being bombed, they said, okay, we have a hierarchy. We want Europeans first. So we want the Ukrainians and the Russians first. Then we want the animals and the possessions second. Then we want the Indians, and then we want the Africans, right? So they had that hierarchy, even though they were actually fighting each other. Some of them actually came to the UK and they said, you know what? we can live with Ukrainians and Russians, but we don't want to live with Asians and blacks. This is something we saw. Some of them went to Bangladesh, and they made clubs and pubs saying only white skinned people allowed in these pubs, right?
Yes.
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 For this case study,
these are facts. We know this. This is.
Yeah.
I feel like yeah. Everybody has been taught this, and we always get taught this, and it's not wrong. It's correct. That's exactly what happened, but it's not the only. We're not the only ones that these things have happened to. And I always look at it like there's a lot of other cultures out there that have found a way to get through and be successful. So to me, I'm like, there's no point harping over what's happened in the past to our grandparents and our great-great-grandparents. There's no point. We have to look at the things that are around us, the examples that are around us that are successful. I feel like the only way to really bring the black community back together then and make sure that people of the same ethnic backgrounds are getting together, like you said, would be to make sure that each of those individuals feel fulfilled in themselves. They're not going to feel fulfilled in themselves by looking at all the fuckery that's happened to them. Sorry if
we try not to swear on the show. We try to be constructive.
Sorry about that, bro. Because I was saying we don't need to harp on about all of the bad things that have happened to us here, because all it does, is it hurt your self-esteem for things that it hasn't happened to you. Because to tell you the truth, because to me right now, our grandparents' generation came here and they was buying houses and working and getting married and having kids, and that's in the 60s and stuff. So to me, I'm like, is the world more racist now than it was in the 60s? Because those are the obstacles they had to go against, coming from a whole other country to come over here and live. And so people that's here, most of the people that have got the problems are the people that are born here. Because all the black people that come from elsewhere over to here, they're doing fine. I think the problem is that every year or so, every year during Black History Month, all they're talking about is all the bad stuff that's happened to us. They don't talk about none of the progress. They don't talk about none of the things that was actually getting us to where we was going to get to. Things like putting just things like education first. Things like actual punishments of bad behavior that we see around us, not allowing stuff just because the black card gets flashed now, and so we have to free the man them, even though this is a menace. There's certain things that don't make sense that we do to our own self. Like we need to promote positive stuff, because I feel like positive reinforcement is the only way to really make someone actually behave and do things in a way that will be productive. Just because what we're doing is creating an enemy, and it's like you're painting everybody with the same brush. So all they're going to go out there is with a lens and look at everybody the same as that. So like you just said then about the white people, for those making fun of the Chinese people doing yellow face. So Bruce Lee shouldn't have trained up those white people. But Bruce Lee was a quarter German. So of course he's gonna. He knows that there's white people that are good and there's white people that are bad. I feel like looking at it as racial is gonna make you buck up with bad people if you don't look at it through principle only. So I kind of just look at it through that, and I feel like that way, looking at skills, accountability of your own self and responsibility of your own self. Because right now we're talking about getting free of the shackles of slavery, because the physical shackles are off, but the emotional shackles aren't off. And so as a culture, we don't have self-esteem. We don't. So when you're saying that we are despised, imagine that. Imagine if I told you every day, wake up in the mirror, every day in the morning, look in the mirror and say, you are despised. Just tell yourself that. Yeah. And I'm telling you right now, psychologists studied this. People talking to themselves like that. It does do. It changes your brain. Everything you do is a habit. You're ingraining it into yourself. It's like sucking on lemons. There's no need for it. To me, I'm like, look at the things that will get you forward. So skills, taking accountability, being responsible, and applying your works to you. So after that, then we can come together. But to me, if you're broken inside, you're not gonna be able to come together and make a whole anything anyway. So you gotta start from the inside and go out.
Brother, thanks for that. So you said a lot, which is very. But one thing is, we don't view things as complaining. We view it as like recognizing challenges, so we can have strategies and templates to consistently overcome. So we have to recognize the shortcomings so we can create the long goings, and that's what we do here. Um, what you said a lot of things there, which is good, but at no point was any kind of collectivism concept. It's good to see the inner self, but the thing is, if you don't have a team strategy, then everything you do will probably work for another team, and that's one thing here. Now, the thing is, these concepts might be very alien to people who do not feel a part of the Black community. So our job is how do we make people, if possible, feel a part of the Black community. So when we present community activity stuff, it doesn't seem alien or even weird, right? The thing is, every other people group understands some of these concepts. Like, you know, if you talk about the Jewish community and stuff, like how to work as within there, and that does include marriage. That does include business ownership and asset ownership and generational wealth and keeping a community strong with those kind of concepts. Now, we say the reason why it's very important that we say Black people are collectively inadequate is because if we didn't say anything else, there'll be an illusion. And if I was to ever promote pro-Blackness or Black love, it would then be turned demonized. Like, everyone in the world is doing great, and you want to do what? So we have to go, no. So we're the equivalent of the person who's overweight saying we want to diet, or we're the equivalent of a person who's anorexic saying I need to eat food. Because if I was just a normal person and I go, I'm not going to eat anymore, you go, oh, whoa, what are you doing? That's extreme. Well, you must eat. But if you go, oh, you're overweight, you're obese. Oh, I see why. Yeah. So we have to have these kind of strategies because we're trying to fix something that other communities have contributed to us going through, you see.
But with your analogy about, for example, people being overweight or people being anorexic, etc., etc., there is a responsibility on society to accept different people. So when I do agree with a lot of what Don was saying, but one thing I will say is that I do think that there is power in looking at like history. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of times people tell their story over and over again when their feelings have not been validated. And I think that's the loop that the Black community has been stuck on. Very real feelings, very valid feelings, a lot of pain, a lot of trauma. I don't think that there's been a lot of collective therapy, and I know there's no such thing as like collective therapy, but I don't think collectively the Black community are actually trying to sit down and heal from things that they've been through. And that's where like it can appear like, oh, the Black community complains, and I don't think it's complaining per se. I think it's, hey, we've enjoyed this massive injustice for however long, and no one really cares. And I think that's why that story comes up over and over and over and over and over again. But I do agree as well when Dom said about taking accountability and striving for progression, because it does get to a point that if you are telling yourself we are despised, that's not going to do anything for you. And we know that through fact or through science that the brain is neuroplastic, so you can adjust your brain. You can.
Yeah, so sister, what you're saying is amazing, and let's break that, because everything, there's two things: there's trauma and there's tactics. So everything we say here has to be down to tactics, because trauma will always take over. We are despised is a part of the double dilemma, meaning from the outside in, we are despised or disliked or not liked at all, right? Or have no friends. With inside, we are disorganized. We don't value collectivism. We don't.
But you can't. You can't.
No, I'm just
But
saying.
you can't pick and choose what you do and do not internalize. If you're saying outwardly,
let me finish, because this will make sense. So, but the reason you will only hear that from people such as ourselves is to say that these are the challenges we face, the double dilemma, and the solution is self-love, and the solution is Black betterment, as in come within the group, find other like-minded brothers and sisters to build with, and start a creative concept with those brothers and sisters, because you are Black focused. This is like the primary. So we're only ever telling people that we're despised and disorganized because we present a solution. What we said is, you know, you're saying is sometimes if you tell people, it might have this negative effect. But what I'm saying is, because we're collectively inadequate, we can't convince people within our community to actually do things for our community. We can't, as in, like, because the osmosis of other people's philosophies have completely conditioned us to not value these concepts. And this discussion is a demonstration of that. It's very hard for us to, in this conversation, say, let's come up with ideas that make black people help black people exclusively. Let's come up with ideas like that. That causes anxiety in our community because we're compromised. So we
But okay, there's only one way to do that, though, to be in a fully black country then, because if you're in a predominantly white country, you're going to have to interact outside of your group to get forward. You're going to have to, like, that, because even with the whole, like,
yeah,
you know,
I'm glad you said that.
I can't see any other way. Like,
yeah, no, but now the thing is, we've been doing this for years, so hopefully we can present you some kind of solutions. So what we're saying is, other communities do this very well. I'm using better terms. Other communities are superior to the black community at doing these things as a collectivism. We're inferior compared to them. And we practice what we are describing as failure fabrication. As in, every time we discuss this concept, members who are not familiar with it, they describe situations where it can't happen. And then they'll do what usually anti-black racists say as well, where they'll say something like, well, if you don't like it, go to Africa or go to the Caribbean or something, right? But we're saying that it's possible to group.
no, but that's not what was said. I'm just
Not
saying
really,
that
but
the only way to make sure, because you're saying to guarantee. How do we guarantee? How do we make sure? How do you? It's like, to me, it's like, people are going to go and get with who they want to get with. They're going to go around and they're going to fall for who they fall with. And people don't go around and think, oh no, you're not the right race. Can't have a kid with you. They have kids with people that they're attracted to, like, and who you're attracted to is part of your environment. So I think that's what I'm saying. I wasn't being pedantic.
But how do other communities do it then? So when you have Pakistani, Jewish,
By forcing, you're talking. I'm just going to bring up the other. By they force it. So, but look at them though. But look what they have to do to force it. We don't have to go down the road and start talking about a whole different community. But we all know what happens. It's not always nice.
In every culture, like literally,
Exactly.
like even if we're seeing such unity, is it better to be unified by choice or unified? If you look at, I know I bring up Nigeria a lot, but like, Nigeria originally was obviously not a country. I'm sure you know that. The British amalgamized the Niger states together. They literally said, you people all look the same. You all live in close proximity together. We're going to force you to be a country. Now, Nigeria today has the most rampant tribalism ever. You can't just put people together and expect them to work together. It doesn't matter
right.
how closely knit they are.
So let's break that down. And just so you know, I'm waiting for us to describe constructive solutions for black people.
I've got an idea
Which is
personally.
good.
I don't
Go
know
ahead.
if it'd be welcome, but
Go
I think
ahead.
one of the places that could be started is in church. Like, you could practice group economics in church so easily if you were well, it depends on what your doctrines are or whatever you believe, or and I just say church because that's the religion that I come from. But
Right.
instead of like putting money together for an offering, why can't you get 10 people together in a church and say, okay, you're like, you guys all come up with a deposit for a house, you then buy that house collectively and you rent it out. There's so many, and the reason why I say church as well is because I know that that's where I would find personally a lot of black people together, or a lot of Nigerian people together, or a lot of Caribbean together. Church is probably like the easiest way in to practice group economics or collectivism for me
Right.
personally.
No, I agree.
There you go.
That's a good way.
So-
I'd say people that have got skills that are useful need to kind of step up. I don't see much, because in other communities, one thing I see a lot is a lot of apprenticeshipping. Like, if I've got a skill, I'm bringing my cousin, I'm bringing my little cousin, my little nephew. I'm even phoning people from back home to come over and work with me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see a lot of that too much. Like, what's the name in our community? I feel like people that have got skills, the older generations need to kind of pass that on, hands-on, because not only are they going to be passing on the skills, they're going to be passing on their culture as well. I feel like if we're relying on our people to go and get their skills outside of the culture, then it's more likely they're going to go outside of the culture in general, if you know what I mean.
Thank you, brother. So I said this. So no matter what we're saying is, I think the sister brought up something about people not getting on in Nigeria and stuff like this, right? And you can't just lump people together. What we're doing is we talk about a smaller percentage of people coming together with Black Betterment ideology, right? And making, by osmosis and by branding and marketing, Black Betterment concepts the norm. Right now, it's not the norm. What you're saying is the norm. Like what I'm saying is extreme and almost alien, but what you're saying is very normal. But what I'm saying is, what in our opinion, what you guys are saying isn't community centered. It's like university centered, or what we call a form of white rightening, where European people have said, in order to fix the history of the past, we want to live in a certain kind of way. So that is never seeing race. Doing activities you don't see race, even though the legacy of the race has already shaped the community. So no more race needs to be done from the Europeans. If I'm going to repeat that. So what I'm saying is, the challenge I'm putting to the panel is, can we speak in a way that heightens the chance of Black people progressing, where we say Black people do this for Black people. This is a strategy. As in, Black people are collectively inadequate. So let's tackle those people in every area of people activity and do stuff that can actually make that people push forward. The thing is, because I suspect you guys are not necessarily pro-Black, I'm definitely suspecting that strongly. These concepts will be very
what do you mean by pro-Black then? Because what's the name? I don't.
Yeah, why do you assume that we're not pro?
You're making a lot of assumptions about what I just said, and the thing is, it's like,
shall I explain why?
You're not. Yeah, go on.
Explain, yeah, sure. It makes it easier. So what it is I go to like the most extreme concentrated pro-Black areas in the world, like that, because that's what I do. I've been in it for many years. So I'm around all the people who are like, who've been doing it years. They've taken a legacy from someone before them. So there's a universal concept of what pro-Blackness is, right? And that's the B1 philosophy, Black first. And I've met people who are African, who are Caribbean, who have one Black parent, who have two Black parents, who have vitiligo, who have albinism. I've met all types who are pro-Black, and it's a consensus, isn't it? That it's, you know, in every area of people activity, you're focusing on Black to improve Black, right? And the areas that are the most important is Black family. It's the most important, like having a constructive Black family, raising them and pushing them apart of the community and giving them the tools they need to survive, but also create other institutions for Black people. These are
I agree, but you can't make that artificially. You can't make that artificially, unfortunately. That's what I'm saying.
Now, what I'm going to say is going to be very shocking, and you need to prepare for it. We understand concept of open door elitism. What that means is, not everybody is going to really be in the right mind frame to lead for a people group. Now, we're saying that Black people have that direct needs. So the people leading have to be B1 or Black first. They have to be, what are the Black needs? Because that's how leadership works. What we can't do is like, oh, you know, allow a person to do this, do that. You can, but then when you do that, you come out of the fold. And I think that's where this conversation came, where we overlapped on the internet, where we were saying that if you, being pro-Black is like being a vegan. You can actually do amazing things for animals, and you can be an amazing, you know, friend to animals. But if you eat meat, you lose the title of veganism. Well, pro-Blackness is the same. If you decide not to marry within your group, you lose that title. So you can do amazing things for Black people.
You see, that makes no sense logically, because to me, pro-Black would be who I am, like what my actions are in the world. Nothing to do with who I'm with. Nothing to do with anything else I've got to do with. So it's not, my job ain't got nothing to do with it. So what I've got to make sure my job is pro-Black. I've got to make sure how far does it go? How far does it go?
The question we have answers for. So the thing is, how can you benefit the Black community and Black people in every activity whenever it's constructively possible? So you would, if you had a job, you're having a job, and the idea is you're learning the skill, and you might be working for a non-Black person, but one day you're going to pick up the skills that you learn in this institution to go back and create a job or a concept or an institution for Black people to join.
Yeah, and then apprentice people and bring them in and train them up in it. Like I said, I feel like that is the only way forward.
Excellent. So you're there. So what we're saying, but in every area activity. So we're saying that if you have a wife, if you're pro-Black, your wife will be Black. It's just,
but then that geezer's not pro-Black though, because he was just working for the white guy. He was making that while he was there. I know he got the skills, but he still made him money when he was there, innit? It's like it falls apart when you think too much like that. You can't think too black and white about things. Everyone's got to live it.
Hold on, brother. What it is you're doing failure fabrication, but I'm going to explain again. So here's how it runs, right? A Black person who's Black-centered, who wants to progress, they understand that because we're collectively inadequate in an inferior position, we can't just tomorrow be skilled at the most important jobs. So you have to go in the world and learn these skills, but then you have to then, once you're at the right kind of place, come back and try to fix what was damaged. Other groups.
But that's happening now.
Yeah.
That's definitely what we want. That is a concept that other communities do very well. But unfortunately, many black people, what we do is we go out and we integrate and we forget about the fixing process or the staying unified process in group integration.
Yeah, I
So,
think that's where I don't agree.
Yeah, I don't agree. Been to too many black churches. I've been to too many black festivals. Like I've been to too many black events and seen black people get together and organize stuff for so long. That's not true.
And I've got friends that are second generation children of obviously first generation immigrants that are on like 80K, 100K jobs right now. That's amazing progress. Sorry, and then their children.
Who started Carnival?
For me, coming from
sister, I don't know what you said. This is important. Say again, sorry.
So I was just saying that I've got friends that are like second generation Nigerians that are like in 80K, 100K plus jobs doing extremely well for themselves. And their children will be in the exact same position that I was in growing up, having a white father. So obviously I know that like obviously having a white dad has put me in a better economic standing compared to other people. I understand that 100%. But to see my friends be able to do that for their children, it's not that long a time. I'm in my 30s. 30 years of hard work, and these people are comparable to the top 5% earners in this country. And I think that we're not focusing on a lot of the success stories that we are seeing in the black community. And one of these people that I'm speaking about, he has like a very, very, very affordable data analytics training course. So these courses normally cost like $2.5 grand plus. He does his course for £500, and you could probably land a job paying at least 50K, like after an 8-week course. So I'm seeing pro blackness, and one thing I will say is,
no.
I just want to wait. Sorry, I just want to land my point really, really quickly. Then I'll finish.
Yeah, because you said
let me just round.
That might cause confusion, but go ahead.
Let me just round up. So I just want to finish by saying that when you strip someone of and I'm just like mimicking your words, when you strip someone of a title because of one thing that maybe that doesn't quite align with everything that you say, as human beings, we have certain morals or values that we strive to be. Like, I strive to be humble, I strive to be integral, I strive to be a kind person. But being a human, I cannot be all those things all the time. And that doesn't take away my humanity because I'm not kind one day. It doesn't take my humanity because I'm not integral one day. And I don't think to say, oh yeah, you create opportunities for the black community, you uplift the black community, you offer counseling for inner city youth, you do this, you do that, oh, but you married a white girl, so you're not pro-black. I find that
I
that's
understand, and this is
extremely
the crux of the
judgmental.
conversation,
Extremely
sister. And
judgmental.
first of all, sister, what you're saying is very important, so we give thanks for that, and it's probably why we're here. And it's something that we definitely have to double down on, in the sense of there are actions that people choose, and some of those choices are long lasting, infinite lasting, right? And when we choose these decisions, it then puts us in certain categories. There is a thing you can do to be pro-black, and the primary of primaries is become constructive and give the best life you can do to the woman in your people group. There is nothing more great than this from a pro-black perspective. Now, you have to show me the pro-black person and what they practice that can actually say otherwise. But I've been practicing black betterment and B1 and pro-blackness for many years. And in every institution of people who are pro-black, where I can see these people, they go to Africa, they go to here, they have institutions, or they do a whole lot of things for black people, and they say this is for black people. They're all on the same page, saying no, black marriage, black man, black woman become constructive, working together is the prime of prime when it comes to pro-blackness. And if you don't,
so when was the last time you bought something from Amazon?
Maybe 2 days ago. I don't know.
So you're not pro-black then?
Well,
because of that one action, you are not pro-black.
I hear what you're saying, but let's break it down. So what we're saying is veganism. There are actual things that are seen as very critical. So there might be something like you might accidentally you might watch a show with dogs on there, and they don't support dogs being used in any capacity, right? That can be looked past. But eating a dog, This is unforgivable. This is something that you cannot have the title. You can't go, I ate a dog this morning. There is no kind of where they go, oh, but you're still a vegan.
Yeah, and that's great, and that's a great analogy. But
Very good.
analogies only explain an analogy. But what I'm saying is that it's strange in your hierarchy of things that you find the most important. And I'm not saying that for the people in the comments that are saying that I don't think that Black families are important. I do think Black families are important. However, you basing your pro-Blackness on the behaviors of other people rather than what you can do individualistically to help the Black community is bizarre to me. To say that you're to not be worried about your pro-Black title being stripped from you when you buy something from Jeff Bezos confuses me over saying I'm gonna marry someone.
Sister,
Like,
you push that forward. So what we're saying is that Black people are collectively inadequate, and there's certain things that it's easy to choose and certain things that's challenging to choose. It would be great if there was 1,000 Jeff Bezos Black companies you could buy from, but unfortunately we're using this process to build it. But when it comes
yeah,
to
but
finding,
you can find them to find the things that you need on
and we
Amazon.
are
You can find a
now,
Black owned.
sister, just so you know, on this show, we do community spend where we get masses of people to shop at Black institutions. We also do campaigns like the one you've seen on the screen at the moment, where we're describing what Black economic is. And here you see the Black family, the Black economic wealth.
But my
And the
point
economic
is, do you think it's right for me to say that you're not pro-Black because you purchased something from Amazon?
sister, what will have to happen is you will have to have a framework that makes sense to whatever ideology you belong to. And that's
Yeah,
what
but
you go by.
you've given the framework. You're saying support Black businesses, but what I'm saying is, why do you support an industry that's clearly making so much money? Because you're saying, oh well, it's easier to do certain things, of
No,
course.
sister.
But I'm
No,
saying it's
sister. I'll explain, and this hopefully makes more sense. There's things you can do, and you can learn from, and then change tomorrow. So you can have a job and leave the job. You can, you can go work for Bill, and then tomorrow hire Bill, right? But the thing with marriage is it's meant to be forever. So once if you become pro woke or whatever the word is, whilst married to a non-Black person, you're still in a lifelong commitment with someone that you shouldn't leave, right? Well, take a give, right? So what we're saying is marriage is that important that to just do it willingly, you have to understand what it actually means. It is a part of a community building process, and it's also about how you create generational wealth and how to produce
But
Black people.
the longer you tell yourself that, oh, I'm gonna purchase something from Amazon because there's lack of, if you rest in that, then you're creating a lifelong commitment to not pursuing Black excellence in choosing comfort or choosing ease. I'm gonna shop from Amazon because it's easier because there's not that many Black businesses. I'm sure if you did your research for whatever it is that you bought from Amazon, you could have found a Black business that sells that thing.
Sister, what I bought from Amazon was from a Black business who sells on Amazon, and that's what I do. But what I'm saying is these are anecdotal. I'm saying that the way you brothers and sisters are speaking, right now, if someone was listening, they're gonna say this brother Rap Raven, he's constantly trying to center Black people in all things, right? He's constantly seeing success simulations of Black people working together. But Dom and Sister Catherine, so far you're rejecting templates and concepts that put Black people primary first.
No, what we're rejecting is
no,
that
we're
the fact
not.
that because when you say pro-Black, yeah, pro anything means that I am for this. If I am pro-life, yeah, that means I'm for not going that way. If I'm, you know what I mean? If I'm pro-choice, it's because I'm for this. So you telling someone you're not for your own people, you Black man, you're not for your people because you're with a white girl. That makes no sense. How can that make any sense? Because if you think because it's your actions yourself, he could so he could be Marcus Garvey, but he's got a white girl, so that means no, he's not pro-Black no more.
Or what about Black men that are married to Black women that beat them or
I'm glad you
leave
said that,
them?
sister. I'm glad you said that. So that's why every time I speak, you will hear me saying constructive Black man with constructive Black woman. Did you recall me saying that?
Yeah, I do. But then how do you
The
ensure
reason
that?
why,
How
no,
do you ensure that?
sister, I'm going to explain. The reason why I do that is because of failure fabrication. As in, any time a person you talk to someone about being constructive Black people, we dedicate trying to give failure analogies about why it won't work. So we always give that kind of concept. Now, what it is
So you have no real life like method of ensuring a constructive Black man or a constructive Black woman.
yeah. Yeah, of course we have rules of like you don't beat, you don't take drugs, you don't drink. You try to seek counsel whenever you're falling off the path.
Well, those
You know,
things just sound like being a whole human, not being a
that's good.
whole black human.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, but this is from but what I'm saying is we value black people progressing together. So if
Yeah,
whether you use
and so do
human
we.
techniques,
And I think
do
there
you?
should be a freedom in
Do
letting
you?
people be who they are. And part of
Yeah,
that
I
is who
agree.
they choose to live and love with. Like it's almost like saying there's a lot of homophobia, for example, in the black community. So are you then gonna say if you're gay, you can't be pro-black? Because it doesn't inherently go with the culture of what black people stand for. You
So
can you
sister,
these are facts.
so I'm going to show you something that just so you understand. I personally I use the pro black term because it's what's famously known through history, right? But we actually practice black betterment here. But black betterment is split between two techniques, so two deliveries, right? One is the black betterer, as you see on the screen now, which is every activity in life is or eventually will be centered around black people continuously improving. All marriage pursuits are with a constructive black partner of the opposite sex. So this is like the all-inclusive concept of black betterment, a lifestyle that is just for black people improving. That's what it's called. We call them black betterers. We have a entry level, accessible variant of that called Black Betterment Builder, meaning does at least one tangible activity that is dedicated to black people continuously, right?
So why is
So,
being why is black better specifically pertain to the opposite sex getting married? Like, so do are homosexual black people not included then in black betterment?
so any homosexual person can practice can be seen as a black betterment builder, but if they are not obviously pursuing marrying someone of the opposite sex, then they cannot produce black families. So they then become a form of
But they can
contemporary.
adopt black children.
Well, that's a whole different thing altogether, and we can unpack that as time
But
goes.
they can, right? So this is but
Well, once
you're not
again,
looking
we
at how
value, hold on, sister. We
okay.
value constructive black man and constructive black woman in that kind of, that is the traditional concept that we promote because we know it works. Anything new has to be brought to the table and really, bring on. I reckon that we should have 10 wives and one husband marrying into a group or whatever, and we can review that. What we know for history is a man and a woman could produce a child and a family, and then that is how communities go by. And there's contemporary concepts, which is fine, but we don't have templates for that. You would have to tell me those templates. But right now, the one template that we recognize is black betterer, and that's marrying someone of the opposite within the same black group. That's what we recognize. Anything new, you have to bring and probably argue.
Yeah,
Here's
but
what I recommend.
that's what
I,
I'm
I
saying. That's
think
what
I think
you recognize. It's a very shallow. It's a very pigeonholed framework. You're not.
I
You're
think it's a bit
not. You're
dangerous
not
as well, to be
even.
fair.
Yeah, you're not even considering how black people are interacting in society with
No, we
people that are
really are.
not
We
black.
really are. We are. So what it is
Doesn't sound
what
like
we do.
it.
What I'll explain because it usually causes confusion. What we're saying is within the framework we're doing, we have one that you could call a black belt concept. Which when you want to do a black belt, that means you have to refrain from certain things and be dedicated to certain things. And time and consistency and sacrificing is how you get that black belt. But we also have white belt concepts, right? And that means you don't necessarily have to follow the rules consistently. One of the challenges with black people is we don't value rules. Now, sometimes those rules, like it might put some people out, so be it. But that doesn't mean that they can't participate. It just means that they can't do the extreme variant of something. Now, extreme variant is that the black belt karate guy is an extreme life he's living. He's underwater training. He's jumping across, jungles. He's attacking 7 people at once. Whatever he has to do to be a black belt. This is the commitment. If you want to be the creme de la creme, the most consistent black belt, or pro black, or whatever term you want to use, this is the term. This is the way. If you don't follow this way, you won't be recognized as it officially. Yeah, that doesn't mean that the things you do isn't good for black people. It just means that you won't qualify for this belt, right? And sometimes we
Okay.
need to know who is a black belt. So when I walk into the room, so brother Dom and sister Catherine. Now I know you say you identify as pro-black, and I'm very happy that you do that. But for me, I need to know who supports our community, marrying our community, having economic growth, fixing our health, putting black needs primary in institutions. And I can't have anxiety when I say that. I can't have people who always fail to fabricate while I'm trying to success simulate. So I need a word.
What
So
do you
the
mean by
black
anxiety? Do you mean that we've got anxiety from what you're saying?
no, I'm
No,
giving
we've
you
given him anxiety.
no, not
Oh,
me.
okay.
No, I'm saying that I'm gonna go into a room and say, black man, constructive black man, constructive black woman, and the idea is everyone goes hooray, yeah, and they go, now that we're hooray, let's make a magazine, let's make a TV show, let's make whatever it is that does that thing, rather than I disagree with a constructive black man with a constructive black woman. I think a constructive black man can be with an Asian woman. I think, and I go, okay, that's fine, but that's more of a builder kind of thing. That's not really a better thing. You see?
Okay, so
That-
you've created this entire framework, and essentially what we've said doesn't align with it, or what I've said, I'll say, I won't speak for Dom, but some of the things I've said don't 100% align with that. So therefore, under your framework, I'm not considered pro-black.
No, since I tried to say that I don't tend to use that term, I'm saying that if I was to go from the pro-black community that I'm with, you wouldn't. But to be honest with you,
that's
we
fine.
promote black betterment, which is a rebranding because we're collectively inadequate. Because for example, if you go on Google and you type pro-black, the number one question is, can a pro-black person marry a non-black person? Right? That demonstrates that we're inadequate. That the most important question to people is who you marry, and that is, can you marry someone who was part of the group that enslaved you or killed you, whatever it might be, right? Regardless of which way we flip it, we will identify that as being inadequate. While if you go to Chinese meetings or Jewish meetings, they never are discussing, can we marry black people? It's like, how do we fix this issue in our community? But because we're collectively inadequate, that's what it is. So what we're saying is, if pro-blackness, there is no definition, we have a definition, right? Every black person in the community, right, can practice a form of black betterment, but we have to have a black belt variant because we know that if we, like you said, not one size fits all and not everyone gets on. So we need the rules to know who is the kind of most dedicated to this concept. I haven't seen from you guys so far yet, but you have different ways of interpreting certain things, so you have to demonstrate that. But for me, I'm constantly trying to find ways for black people to work with black people to fix black issues, and I'm saying it. I'm not saying, be a good person.
Yeah, but the best way to work together is not to cut off a part of the population just because they don't think the same way you do. Like, I feel like the best way to bring everyone together.
I'm glad you said that, brother Dom. That's why we have this thing here where everyone is welcome. It's just we just have ways of knowing who is who. So every black, so I by pro bono will work with any black person in the community. If you time given, that is, right? If you're a black person and you want to create a concept for black people, I will work with you, whether you're a homosexual, whether you are married to one man or two men or whatever it might be, right? I'll work with you, right? By pro bono, because you're doing a constructive thing. However, there are going to be certain initiatives that will have to be creme de la creme, as in people who will think a particular way because we're trying to get a particular thing done. A Black Better project on that. And if you're not Black Better, you won't be there. But that doesn't mean that I cut myself off to black people. It just means that we have to have organization and structure and strategies.
Oh, I don't know about you. You're cutting them off, but when you talk like that about people, certain people are just not gonna. They're not gonna mess with it because it's too. Okay, we've gone through the Enlightenment now. Like, as a people, we're saying all over the world. Yeah, people are waking up to it's not just black and white. Like, everybody's having their own experiences and they're going through life. You can't really say someone's not correct because of because of a concept you think of, unless it's actually hurting somebody and causing someone's detriment. I feel like that's the only measure. And you measure that through.
Brother Dom, never. I don't want us to ever think that someone is right, something is wrong. We're talking about strategy and tactics, right?
But you said it before. You said that's not right. You said it's not right. It's not right. That's why they're not the elites. They're not the black belts of blackness or pro blackness or whatever.
I'll explain just so you know.
Black betterment.
I'll explain. What we're saying is there are certain rules that guarantee a mindset. And being able to recognize that mindset is important. That mindset is B1. I don't know what you're saying, sister. B1 in all activity. Did you say something wasn't true, sister? Was that your mic going off?
Because nothing's guaranteed. That's not guaranteed. I understand what you're saying, but it's not guaranteed.
Hold on, sister. What we're saying is heighten the guarantee. So what it might be, just say we want to destroy a wall. We know that a small cannon can do it, but the bigger the cannon, the more likely, right? Well, of course, that might not work. What we're saying is, remember, I'm success simulating, not failure fabricating, and I'm putting black people in the center of everything I'm saying. And what I want you to demonstrate at some point is where you do the same, where you can actually put black people first in everything you're saying, if possible.
Right. So can I ask you a question? How do you heal trauma?
How do you heal trauma? Well, here's what it is. Me personally, I come, and this is very important. I come here with a particular skill, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find black people who want to align with black people to actually be able to tackle the many areas of activities that we need healing, fixing in. So there'll be people.
That's why I'm here.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
John.
So how would
You.
you suggest healing Black trauma?
So what we'll do is
You have to build self-esteem, man.
I'll explain. What I would do is we'll get brothers and sisters who want to be B1 or Black First or Black Veteran, and then they would specialize in trauma. When we establish them, they would specialize in trauma building and trauma healing, and they would, after following certain kind of rule sets, and we know who they are, they would lead in that activity. So they would lead in that
What
activity.
kind of activity?
Well, so it's like this. It's like me saying, how would you fix masonry, like black masonry, like how to make black people make houses and stuff. Well, I couldn't tell you the actual what to be done. We have to have specialists who are black first who come in to represent that area. So if
Yeah,
you were
so
to,
that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like I've heard you say a lot
Yeah.
of like strategy and tactics,
of
but then
course,
I've
yeah.
not really heard what those like strategies are other than Black people marrying other Black people. But so that's why I was asking, like, what would your strategy or tactic be for healing Black trauma?
So the one of the there's so from the things that we know, right? And once again, the answer was you get black people who specialize in that to lead. Because if I asked you, well, how would you train black people to be sound engineers? You'd be like, if you're not a sound engineer, it would just be you go, oh, well, buy a software, right? But I'm saying that what we
But then
promote.
if I was invested, if I was invested in healing Black trauma, I would be able to say something maybe a bit more specific than like, oh, I'd get a specialist. Like, what kind of specialist? What are
See,
we talking about here?
but sister,
Like,
the
I
concept might be
just would have
confusing.
expected a bit more.
Well, first of all, I can answer you, but the first answer I gave was much more important, as in this is a collective concept, right? So asking me, I can answer because I'm a polymath and I specialize in many different skills, but that would not be the concept that I'm pushing forward. The concept that we push forward here is that we recognize we're collectively inadequate, and we're looking for black people who want to put black people first to join to fix the areas that black people need. So the
Yeah,
idea is
and I
those.
believe
Hold
that
on.
one
So,
of
so let's just pretend that you were that person, sister. You would join and you'll give your expertise. Like, here's how I would fix black people with trauma. Now, if you ask me, there's certain things like teaching about a past, showing successful stories of black people progressing, showing black people who love themselves doing certain things, trying to have certain institutions where people go there to talk and express themselves, and maybe trying to get influencers to bring up topics that is relevant to people who are suffering, creating safe spaces where people know they can go there and they won't be judged for certain kind of shortcomings. There's we started our show, we showed this when we first started, did we not? We showed this, right? We showed a young sister here saying, oh, I'm just like, sorry.
So, if you have an afro, that is so wonderful. It means that you're special.
Right. So whatever the challenge a person goes through, we will try to create concepts, media outlets, and magazines, whatever it is, that tackle it. But that's just me as one person who specializes in say public speaking or sound engineering or marketing, talking, right? But the truth is, I should not be seen as that person who's going to give you an answer to all the needs of black people, but we can recognize that black people have needs. So what we do bring is a lifestyle or a culture that makes people want to fix it. Right now, that's not being demonstrated.
You're
Okay,
very.
I know
Do
you.
you
I
know
know.
what?
I know you
I'm
think
gonna
that.
log off soon. Sorry, just really quickly because I'm gonna log off soon. Not just because I've got
It's like,
a little
of course,
celebration going on here, so I need to go soon.
of course.
But one thing I will say is I've been sort of peering back and forth between the comments and here, and I just want to say that I sincerely came into this conversation like very open and very willing to like discuss.
Mhm.
I don't feel like that's what's happened. I think you're being very assumptive about like the things that I think or like how I feel. I'm seeing in the comments things like, oh, 1 minute it's we and next minute it's us and da 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 da. And I just want to say to the people in the comments that are saying things like that, you don't know how it feels to not know whether you're included or not. Hence why a lot of, well, I would assume a lot of biracial people do often switch between the terms we and us, because I don't always know when I do and do not fit in. That's the only reason why. But it's very, when I'm reading some of these comments as well, it's very like us versus you. And I'm really not here for us versus you. I thought this was just going to be a conversation about like, how do we like bring minds together? And it seems more like an argument, if that makes sense, or like when I don't agree with certain things just because I don't see it that way, it's like, oh well, you're like, it's like it comes with a label. And the reason why I asked about the like how would you address the trauma wasn't to single-handedly like point you out and say how would you do it. The reason why I brought it up is because I believe that would be the root of a lot of issues, and all I wanted to point out was that no matter what tactics or strategies that you have, they don't always work with everybody, or certain tactics will only work with certain people and others won't, etc., etc. But that's where the root cause, that to me is like where all of this would start from. And it's not understanding, because there's no such thing as a black experience. There are people that are experiencing life as a black person, and just because you're black and someone else is black, or I'm mixed race and someone else is mixed race, doesn't mean that we've experienced life in the exact same way, even if we've been in the exact same situations, because we're all individuals. And I know that there's an ideal to get to a collective mindset, 100%. But I don't think that can happen when we can't even have like a conversation, if that makes sense. It just feels very like negative.
Sister Catherine, now here's what it is, and so as you know, I can't necessarily control what is said in the comment section.
No, I know.
Just so I'm hoping that your analysis of myself isn't based, but and I tried to say about codified things.
No.
So,
it's just how I'm feeling in the
yeah,
situation. That's what I'm trying to say.
and just so you know, you as a one black parent person, you know, biracial person, you as a person are in the community, and you have always been. And anything we talk about are inclusive here. But what we're saying is, members of the community, we have a lifestyle for you. You see, and people can either reject or accept. But that doesn't mean that because of your race or your ethnicity or your cultural group that you don't qualify. It's because of your choice. This is, once you're born within the community, you have a choice. Now, one of my strategies and one of the things I'm trying to get over is I'm trying to heavily promote black men or biracial women ever marrying each other. I'm heavily promoting that. And I'm realizing that some biracial, not all, some biracial are internalizing that by saying that you are excluding them by only wanting black people to marry black people. Well, my answer is you are included in that black people.
Can I just
my
ask, when
answer.
you say that
No.
biracial
That's not
people
what I
should
didn't
marry
think I was
other
excluded.
biracial people,
Let the sister
do
talk. You jump in.
Sorry.
when
Go
you
ahead.
say, did you say that biracial people should marry other biracial people?
No, what I'm saying is, so you see on just to make it more sense, right? You see on the screen at the moment, we have something we call the Sun people, and it's a template. What we're saying is the Sun people are made up of African, black, and colored, ABC. Colored is a South African term, right, for biracial, right? Now, it's a branding thing. Now, what we're saying is all these people, they can identify separate. They can say, I'm African, I'm black, I'm colored. They can say that. But we recognize them as either the same people or overlapping the same people or circling the same people, or the things we do represent all three, even though they can exist separately or equally or differently, right? So that's how we see it. But once they are a member, now we present the members with a lifestyle that works on the members. So when I'm saying if a biracial person can marry an African, they can marry a black, can marry a color, the color can marry African can marry black, because they're all in the Sun people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does.
Yeah,
that makes sense. But I'm just saying, okay, you'll accept their kid, you'll accept the child of the union, but it's like
that's
the
right.
union itself is like a problem.
It's not a problem. It's just it's not a template that we recognize.
Yeah, but it's against what you want to happen in it. Like what you'd rather happen is that they get with their own race.
No, it's not against. We don't. So the sister said when she jumped in very correctly that we use terms correctly because it causes anxiety. So we're saying no one's against anything. We're saying we have a method that maximizes, or we attempt to maximize, black people progressing, and this is what we do. So we heavily promote being constructive and finding someone within the Sun group, African, Black, colored, ABC, branding, to start a family with and have generational wealth and own institutions and promote Black Burman. And this is a fundamental that like if someone was to change this as the core, I wouldn't practice anymore. I would leave, because that's how important it is. It's that important. But in this, but we recognize not everyone can because of their ideologies or where they've been raised. So we have two ways of practicing Black Betterment. We have the all-inclusive, the Black Betterers, or the entry level, which is the Black Betterment Builders. So every Black person can practice this lifestyle. The challenge we have is when people are born, other cultures have cultural religions or cultural concepts that make them fix their own issues immediately. Black people, by being enslaved and colonized, we have ideas that make us help other people. This discussion might be a demonstration of that, how challenging it is to make us actually just focus on Black, because we're collectively inadequate. So the lifestyle is coming to fix that. But for the viewers who are viewing at home and the viewers who listen in the future, these are the teething challenges you're going to have, because we're coming from a legacy of the double dilemma. You see, and to you, sister, nothing I said I hope is ever to be judgmental or to belittle. You both of you are our sisters and our brothers, and the same way I'll talk to a person who's Nigerian, vitiligo, someone who's in Afro-Brazilian or any kind of member, is the same. That once you're a member, we promote that these things, marrying each other, being healthy, being constructive, starting Black business, are core fundamental things. They're core fundamentals, right? But if you don't do it, so be it. You won't qualify for certain titles, but you are still a brother and sister, and we can still work together.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry that I have to like rush off. I'm so
Sister,
sorry.
when you rush back, you're welcome to jump in next week, just in general, or if you want to message me to have a part 2, because some of these things take longer than our time. But remember, it's like I said, we're here to make Black people progress. That's either a good thing or a bad thing. If it's a bad thing, then no one should come. But if it's a good thing, you're welcome to. But the thing is, the problem is, many people have different ideologies and different histories, and it makes that kind of unification much challenging. You see?
Yeah, and I understand that.
Yeah. But no matter what happens,
I'll plug in again.
Definitely. Brother Dom, we're now, because sister has to go to this, I think it's a party she's going to something like this. Brother Dom, I think you wanted to talk about why you feel that Black people should not receive reparations. Go ahead. Oh, I think Brother Dom went.
Oh no, he did go.
Maybe he thought it was you. This is most unfortunate. Oh, Brother Dom. The reason why Brother Dom is here is because he told me he doesn't believe that Black people should get reparations, but he had a very interesting way of why.
Oh, he said he had to go as well.
Oh, it's a shame, really. Well, it will be always good to get. But the thing is, brothers and sisters, here's like this, right? Sister, just say me and you were practicing Black Betterment, right? I would say, sister, marry a member of the community. You might not do that, right? You might not do this, right? I am free from the choices you've made. You are free. The comment section, I would tell people, try to be as constructive as possible when you're talking, because people can use it and think a certain way, right? I don't control the comment section, just like I don't control your picking. So someone can't come to me and go, well, you promote Black love, but there was a sister on your panel who went and married a German man. Okay, that's fine for her, but I don't. That shouldn't reflect on the philosophy. We still think it's a good idea, but she's free to do what she wants. Just like I reckon, I tell Black people, do not use any kind of destructive language or judgmental things in the forum, because it might distract the speakers and let them go away from the Black burn we're trying to do. But I can't control it. For the most part,
I will say, just for the record, that I do actually believe that Black people should be paid reparations personally.
Well, sister, maybe you can heads done back. Maybe you service not connected. You always, if we don't finish there, you're always welcome to jump in next week, because just so you know, there's a panel at the moment, there's a forum at the moment, and it's there's a Black woman and a white man, and she goes, I get all these negative stuff on the Instagram, and I asked the question, does your European partner support reparations to the Caribbean? And then that got like over 700 negative views from Europeans and Black people saying, how dare you ask such a question? They don't owe nothing. And I think that's why I met Brother Dominic, who said, I agree. I think Black people should have a reparations. But he had a unique twist on why he felt that, which I wanted to unpack.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, that's a shame that he's not here. But yeah, if I can, I'll offer like a real quick like 2 cents. The reason why I feel like personally it should happen or it should be paid back is because we see in culture today, like the UK, for example, has such a high like complaint culture, and I don't want to like I don't want to simplify something down to like as comparing it to like customer service or something as mediocre as that. But we see in customer service or in the banking system, for example, where there was this whole PPI scandal. They were forced to not only pay back money that where they'd missold these insurance policies, but also pay back with compensation to put the person back into a position that they would have been in had they not been missold or had they not been illegally sold a product that they didn't need. I think if you've been given free labor from a group of people for hundreds and hundreds of years, or built communities and whole countries off their back, that it does need to be paid for 100%, and then that would hopefully give some of that economic push up or leg up. And I think like when you've been such a what's the word, like the underdog for a long time, to treat someone equally isn't fair, but treating someone with equity is always more beneficial. And I think that if you've not been given, you need to be given more to actually make things equal in the first place. So not that reparations is technically giving anything more, but you need to at least put Black people back into a standing where they would have been had not been for the interference.
Very good point. Now, sister, the reason why
He's back.
he's back, the reason why,
Sorry, guys.
yeah. So we also recognize that there's so many things going on at once, and so we have to recognize that if reparations was a thing, one of our fears is like they make films about the Native Indians and stuff where they get given some kind of line of money, but it ends up back in the hands of non-Indians or non-whoever. So we also are recognizing that marriage is that process as well. So we even have to have so for example, I was talking to a woman who's actually anti-Black from what I see, but she's still married to a Black man. But she was saying, listen, if you get reparations, I want some by being married to a Black man. I want some for myself. And yes, I'm going to give it to my white family. Why would I not? So what we're saying is that concept can't really work for us, and other groups will stop it. So we also try to come up with methods that if we were paid reparations, how do we control it? And that's why we have certain diagrams like this, like trying to go, how do you manage, even though reparations is not something that Black people is really going to get, whatever. I think the sister's gone, but when she comes, maybe next week. But so we have a whole lot of methods. But now, Dom, you're here, especially talk. Explain to us why you feel that Black people should not get reparations. And I know you are pro-Black. Let's go ahead.
With the shoulds and the what's name, it's not from like any kind of like moral ethical standing, because at the end of the day, we come from like a history of slavery in it. Like it's one of the most terrible things that can happen to you. You get me? Like there's things that are worse than death in it. Like right. and it was particular as well because there's slavery all over the world. There was there's slavery all over the world, and lots of demographics went through it as well. But at the time, because of the technologies that was around and I was saying the stretch of the empires that was dealing with it, it was the first time that a group of slaves got taken so far away from where they originated from. So I feel like that in itself brought a particular problem of unfamiliarity culturally, because let's say you was a French guy and you got enslaved by the Germans and got took to Germany, and there will be a difference in language. There's going to be certain customs that are different, but for the most part, you're going to be in some sort of familiarity at least. So the people are going to look similar to you. They're going to practice similar things like Christmas and all these things. You know what I mean? Like there's going to be certain overlaps because it's just from country to country. But when you take it from continent to continent and you mix them with a people that are from a completely different continent and not allowing them to obviously they're not free. There was chattel. It took away all of their humanity.
So Dom, is it right in saying that you actually support reparations to the descendants of enslaved people? Is that what you're saying?
Let me unbox what I'm saying first, because this is the thing. I don't, but I need to explain that it's not through any kind of anybody. It's not through deserving, because the deserving is an emotional thing in it. But when we're talking about reparations, we're talking about legislations and laws. That's what we're talking about in it. Because if you're going to talk about reparations, they're not going to be like, okay, here's a gift. You're going to have to go to court about this. And when you go through legislations and laws, it's just a realism thing. Like, I look at it like this: if we fight and fight for reparations, all that energy for fighting for reparations, yeah, we could be building stuff for ourselves. When I was talking about the skills thing, people getting skills, I was being specific because you can take any skill that I was saying that in the black community, any black person with a skill that gives them resources and lets them have a living can be passed on. Now, there's because it was saying, I know you're a smart guy. It was saying you seem like you got a wise head on you, but it was saying you've been around the block, so you've worked with people and you've taught people stuff, and then you've probably seen those people teach people things as well. There's a trickle down effect. I feel like instead of pushing for people to give back something, that it's going to be hard to even get them to do it, for one, because you're going to have to argue, is it even their responsibility now, because the people that were slave owners aren't even here now, and the people that were slaves aren't even here now neither. And the problems in the black community, I don't think it's necessarily to do with slavery. I think it's had a particular effect on us for the simple fact that we was without a culture. But I feel like we're at a stage now in the world where there's enough technology and resources for us to actually connect together as a community globally. Like, you don't even need to be next to each other like we used to be in the 60s to get anything done in those times. The civil rights movement, it's a miracle it got done. Something like that could get done 10 times quicker now, if you know what I mean. But I feel like it's a transfer of skills. I don't think going out there and trying to get resources from the outside is going to help.
All right. So here's what it is. We observe reparations as something that is owed. So whether people deserve it or they want it, they're going to give it. We recognize owed it. And when other people groups have gone through not even half or a quarter of what black people have gone through, they've got reparations. We understand that every other people group were given certain forms of reparations to build institutions and ideas that allow them to thrive and move forward. We're talking about 400 years, even more of free labor, enslaved murder, sexual assault, kidnapping from people, a devastating maafa that happened. So we recognize that it is owed. Now, me personally, I do not talk about reparations because I think that non-black people and many black people are going to agree with it. I use it as a tactic to demonstrate that black people have no friends. And because we have no friends, it's better that we marry within our group. So whenever you see me talk about reparations, it's to demonstrate that we have no friends. It's very important, you see? So that's why I say it. So that's why when I said it in the way you saw it that time, you had 500, 600 non-black people and some black people who gave me 100% abuse. They weren't sympathetic. They won't go, let me know your pain, or I understand where you're for trouble. They were like, you're a grifter, go away, never pain.
That's not a good measure. Sorry, that's not a good measure, because the majority of people online give abuse. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna go to the comment section for the measure of anybody's mentality, it's not good.
Brother, the problem we're gonna have here is no matter what I say, you're constantly looking. You're failing fabricating black stuff and you're success simulating non-black stuff. Are you aware of that? What you're doing at the moment? So there's no information I can give you that will unite black people, because every time I tell you, like, I'm trying to demonstrate that where we are because we don't have people outside are sabotaging, while we're also sabotaged because of a self-hate concept that comes from colonization, enslavement, and a whole other stuff, right? And when I try to give examples, that happens in mass. So I'm talking about 600 comments, 572 of them was abuse. Yeah, and even the black people jumped in and said we don't support reparations, right? So what I'm saying is, I'm trying to demonstrate that we're despised and disorganized, and that's
I know, but I'm saying that that example you're giving is not a good enough example, because if you said anything, you could write down kittens are great, and you'd get a bunch of abuse because the dog team's gonna go against you. The online comment section is not a good place to get any information about anybody's mentality.
Do you think, Brom, that European people of European descent, people who from Britain,
pardon?
You think they want to pay reparations to the Caribbean? Yes or no?
Nobody wants to pay anything. You get me? Like, nobody wants to pay their bills. We do it because we have to. The only reason anyone pays anything to anything because you have to.
Hold on. So, like I was telling you, you are aware that reparations were paid to the enslavers, the Europeans, and they only finished paying it up until 2015. Were you aware of this?
This is why I said before, if you're going to be talking about what's in reparations, you have to talk from a legislative standpoint, because you're talking about laws and legislation. Now, I'll do something similar to what you did with the vegan. Now, I'll give you. Let me give you a metaphor, because you said the vegan metaphor before for the whole pro-black thing. Yeah, so I'll give you a metaphor. Let's say you're a cow farmer now. Yeah, you've got 1 million cows. You don't give a fuck about these cows. You're just making your money. You don't give a fuck about what happens to them.
We try to use colorful language and not colorless. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. Nah, I'm really sorry. I apologize. I take that back. Yeah. So you're a cow farmer. You got 1 million cows, and you're not only because you got so many cows. You're not just not just a cow farmer no more. You're gonna have a bunch of industries around that. You're gonna have a bunch of things that are around that. Then there's a law passed because people are saying it's not right to have to have cows. You can't own them because they're living beings. People are acknowledging them as something that deserves some sort of freedom. So you can't have them no more. Now you are an important part of that system that's been built up around it. Now you're part of the infrastructure. What are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to kick out all of their richest people that are building the boats and building the roads? And to me, I'm like, and no country's going to do that. So I feel like they did what they had to do to get it out of there, to get slavery abolished. Because think about it, why would they even do that? They was making billions. Why do that? There was no reason for them to ever let them free. In fact, there was more incentive to keep them enslaved and get more billions and indoctrinate them even more.
Brother. So what I mean, sorry to be straightforward, but this is part of the analogy that we're describing. Where now you're justifying that, they didn't have to do it, but they did a good thing. So once again, the enslavers have to.
It's not. No one's justifying. It's just a fact. You can take it as a justification, but it's just a fact. It's just a fact that they didn't have to.
I've never heard this.
But then they did.
So you do understand that people in Germany were paid reparations after the Holocaust. Are you aware of this?
Yeah, because there was a war fought. The Nazis didn't just turn around and say, you know what, we're doing wrong. So let's try and find some way to stop it.
Brother, the tactic I'm doing here is I'm going to keep on giving examples, and I'm hoping, just to prove the point, that you're constantly justifying the non-black concepts while you're just moving away from the black. So you are failure fabricating what the black concepts and success simulating the non-black ones. And that's what I'm trying to demonstrate. That there's nothing you have identified as pro-black, but I haven't seen anything you've said that is putting black first in anything that you in the
I'll tell you why what I'm doing for it, because you see for me and my people, because obviously I can only touch the people that I'm around in it, and I'm not even gonna go into who my people are, but friggin' I'm around my people, and what we do here is we exchange ideas and we try to exchange skills and try and teach each other stuff. We're trying to make sure we're as literate in this life as possible, whether it's a way to make money, whether it's a way to improve your family life, your relationships, no matter what it is. Now within my community, now I look at it as that's the formula for everybody. For the black community itself, what we need to do is focus on being accountable for ourselves and being responsible for ourselves. Because as soon as the more we keep relying on outside things like reparations and stuff, and blaming other people, like the reason why black people are in this position is because of other people, the less chance we're going to be able to progress. The only reason I look at other cultures is for examples on how to get out of this position.
Can you hear me? Because I might be talking. Yeah, the thing is, one of the things is there should be no kind of blame here. What it is, these are strategies, as in like, it's very important to understand that these things are owed to black people, and we're saying until they're paid, there is no concept of marrying outside the group, because we don't have any allies, and we use reparations as the demonstration of that. We also demonstrate.
No, it's not a demonstration of that, because people aren't, because logically you can't punish somebody for what their great grandparents did to somebody else's great grandparents. So you're going to be taking resources from people that didn't do the crime to give to people that didn't suffer the crime, because what we suffered was something else. We didn't suffer slavery. We suffered racism.
Brother Dom, the fact that we're speaking this way shows that we have suffered, but also the economics we find ourselves in, plus the opportunities from the past, plus the fact that we don't speak our mother tongue language. All these things are mass problematic problems that we go through, right? But once again, remember, I'm trying to demonstrate pro-blackness, and right now, from the pro-black community, just so you're aware, they won't view the way you're articulating it as anything to do with pro-blackness in any entirety. Yeah, and it seems to me, I don't know if you've studied pro-blackness or been to any kind of African school or anything like that, but the way
all I know is that I'm for my people, and the only way to get forward is to get your skills up. That's it.
Brother Dom, who are your people? Who are they? Do they have a name? So
I identify myself as.
So go ahead.
Say it again.
Because I'm saying this is for black people. Is what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Is it for black?
Yes, it is, because just because it can be applied to all people, don't mean it ain't for black people. That don't make no sense. My community, is lacking in that, because everybody else's people is doing these things I'm talking about. It's all about transferring skills from person to person.
Of course, bro. Yeah, bro. Well, I'm saying that I'm trying to make institutions and ideas and templates that are for black people to progress, and I'm very clear about it. And the only way to get things done is by being very clear about it. Just like the examples we can't use, like where the Ukrainians were very clear. Black people can't go first until the Russians and Ukrainians have left. And then after the animals and Indians, you can go. They were very clear about that. And when they came to UK, they were very clear. We don't want to live in Asian and black communities. We want to live with other white people or other Russians and Ukrainians. They were very clear about that, right? So Black Betterment is very clear. We're trying to fix the legacy of what was pushed upon us by others. But that doesn't mean that we're feeling sad for ourselves. No. We have pride in it. So when we marry a black woman, it isn't because we feel sorry for ourselves. It's because we love black women. We want to be black women. We know that we cannot progress without the black woman. So this is a prideful thing. This is something that when we love doing. It feels good. There is no shame. But we recognize that other groups have benefited from our downfall and contributed to it. So they owe us stuff. And we won't do anything with them on a collective, meaningful basis until they recognize that, because we're centering our ancestors first. Does that make sense?
But that's you painting everybody for the same thing. And it don't make sense, because how many? Okay, so you're telling me every white person was owning slaves back in the day? No, so everybody over there that just lived there, because most of them was peasants. Most of the people that lived in these places throughout all of history have been peasants, bro. None of them had no status or any class. There was workers, and if you was a serf or a peasant, you're just the same as a slave, because they were seen as part of the land. If you was a lord,
hold on, brother Dom, it's important, because I don't want this to come across like we're going to talk behind your back, right? And that is, I'm just letting you know that I'm trying to tell you something, that everything you say, you are defending Europeans, but you are not defending Africans or black people with that same philosophy. You're not giving us any concepts that puts the power in the black hands, as recognizing that the Africans, the black people, were victims of an atrocity, and things are not in our collective best interest. You see,
I'm telling you now, having the victim mentality is what's holding people back. What you need to have is the ability to get your skills together. And
hold on, break that. If we are saying that we want reparations, we want to marry black women, we want to.
But it's the thing, you're not letting me land. Also, when I'm speaking, you stop me. I haven't even been able to finish the statement. You're not letting me finish the statement. Also, like.
Hold on, because it's important we have clarity. So let me give you clarity. You can jump in. I'm almost there.
But it'll be clear when it's finished, isn't it? If you stop halfway through the book, it's not going to be clear.
Give me 7 seconds, and I'll jump. You can jump in. I'm saying everything you're saying that where black people are fixing, we do all those things within the black community, all of it, to the black community, for the black community. So regardless of what you say, it's to the black community, by the black community, for the black community. Food, yeah. Now you can carry on. There you go.
Cool. That's fine, but the only way to get forward, is not looking at outside for outside help. Like you said, if you think there's no enemies, I don't see the point in even trying to go down the reparations route. The only route is to look within our community and make sure skills are getting passed from person to person. And when I say skills, I mean, like, have you got a trade? Like you said about bricklayers, I know plasterers and bricklayers and stuff like that. So what we're thinking is, if we get together and build our own thing, and trying to get it together, so that we've got actual resources and actual jobs going, and then we can bring our people in, we can bring our people together, and pass it down. But no, let me finish, because you're not even letting me land. Come on, bro. Every time I try and say a statement.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't want us to do monologues. When remember, you're saying 29 points, that's very important, and we're rushing past it, right? And what's important is, can we do both? That's what's important. Can we do both, bro?
What do you say?
can we want reparations and still build and still do all the things with black people? Is it possible to do both, or is it one or the other in your mind?
I think it's one or the other because I feel like it's it wasn't. I don't because we know the concept. It's an old concept about giving a man a fish and teaching a man to fish. I feel like you don't spend the pound you was given the same way you spend the pound you earn. I feel like we go out there with the people that we already have in our community that are skilled, which is loads of them. There's people that are lawyers and doctors. There's people that's already trodden the path to success in our community. They can tell the rest of the people in our community the path to success. We don't need to go and say that and say to people that we're saying to other people outside of our community that they're going to have to prop up our community now because we don't need it. We've got enough skilled people in our community. It's just we're a little bit disjointed at the moment. So what I'd say, my person.
Go on. What I'm going to say is, just so you know, I strongly disagree with what you're saying in this particular chapter concept. And I do feel that you're somewhat confused in the overall concept of reparations and why it's accrued, and black people being able to expect that without losing face, but still being inwardly progressive at trying to find golden solutions. Meaning two things.
Every little bit of resources chasing the reparations is resources away from going away from actually building up what we've got.
So there's no chasing resources. What it is you have a company that specializes in what is to be done when it happens and how to get it right. But in the meantime, there's to be no marrying at all, until you have an agreement. So you can use if Europeans love you so much, as we're saying, the only way they're allowed to even enter the conversation about marriage is reparation. Let me give you a quick story. Japan and America had a war, unfortunately, and then the Japan were nuked by the Americans. But while they're being nuked by the Americans, what happened in this war? The Japanese who called themselves Japanese Americans, were put in concentration camps in America. Yeah. What happened was after the war was over, Japan went out. They went out to other countries, learned trade. They didn't marry yet. They came back, and then they built up their country. So it's the one of the number one electronic companies in the world. When they were trading, America,
what year was that?
This was after the First World War. So after the Second World War, after they were nuked, right? They were in a bad situation, but they built themselves up to be one of the powerhouses in the world, right? Now, what they said was, we will trade with America, but only if you pay reparations to the Japanese people you had in the concentration camp. I think they call concentration camps, right? And America said,
I agree. That's what happened. They leveraged their position.
This is the point I'm getting to. They said, okay, because you're now this economic people, we'll do it. We're creating the scenarios where we can say, if you want to marry black people, or if you want to go here with it, well, you have to fix this path. Maybe one of the things, if you want to marry us, I don't agree with it, you have to pay reparations. I use that quote to demonstrate that white people or Arab people, whoever people, don't love you that much. They love you in this conversation about love has no color, but when it comes to actually action in it, they're not going to create institutions to pay reparations to marry you. And that's a demonstration that we collectively have no friends. It's very important. Very important.
No, I disagree, because to me, I'm like, you're saying that. So if, let's say I married a white girl now, I'm with a white girl, yeah? Until I have to say to her, okay, cool, you're going to have to go tell all them other people they're going to have to pay reparations, because she ain't going to have no reparations for me. So basically, my idea is, where is it coming from? Are you trying to get reparations from the government, or are you trying to find the descendants of these slave owners?
Well, what happens is, just like the government is paying the enslaver money since
different scenario. Like I said, if you're going to talk about what if you, there's a different scenario though, we're talking about laws and legislations that way, and it's if you're going by contracts and trying to keep it, I don't know, I'm not defending them, but I understand that when you're trying to freaking change a whole institution.
I'm letting you know, just because I don't want to speak behind your back, and I'm going to say when you're not here, you're a failure fabricating black stuff, and your success simulating.
No, you haven't let me finish that point. Whenever I tried to say it, I've tried to say points, but it's okay. But this is the thing. If you railroad, and that was saying, because I've listened to loads of things you've said, like I've listened to everything you've said, but I'm trying to say something, and like,
The thing is, bro, what I'm trying to say, before you go, I want you to demonstrate you have some kind of synchronization with black people, because at the moment you seem to have a synchronization with non-black people, and you are.
Oh my
doing it.
days! So when I said what the solution I thought was for our community, because I even said myself, I'm actually doing things for people that are of my color, that are of my heritage. Like literally, there's so many people. I work with a bunch of people on a construction site there, and the amount of times I've spoken to them about let's go forward as a people. So to me, I'm like, you're telling me because I don't agree with reparations, because I don't think like you, I'm not pro-black enough. To me, that's some
I'm not
silliness,
saying that.
because
I'm
being
not saying
black,
that.
being
I'm just-
black is not a choice in it. You just are black. It don't matter how you behave. It don't matter how you behave. You are just black. So you said anyone that is black is part of the group. And if you're part of the group, then you should be able to get listened to in it. I want to be able to say my point here, because otherwise it's not a conversation, bro.
Brother, let me just get more clarity. What we're saying is all black people are allowed to practice black betterment. Once they practice black betterment, we can work with them better on how to find solutions. So all black people can, but not all black people do. So
why can't I finish a point then? So why can't I just finish a point? This is the thing. I've been quiet all this time, you know. I've been listening, and I'm thinking, let me get patient. I'll land at some point.
What would you like to land on? Because the thing is, if you make 17 points, we might forget them. You're not making notes, and you're saying
it's not 17 points. I'm talking 1 point. You're not. What's the name? I feel like with the reparations argument, what we was going to, you're asking why do you think these people, they was paying off the slave owners, and why didn't they pay off the slaves? And this logistically, yeah, it's. If they wouldn't have paid off the slave owners, yeah, they wouldn't have stopped being slave owners. They would have just took their industry somewhere else, and that's what they was threatened with. So is that a choice? Either keep slavery going and keep this shit going, or find a deal to reimburse these people who are the powerhouses of your country, because without them, there's no money. There's no money. There's no army. With no army, there's no country. So I look at it like, well. I'm surprised they even went the risk of even freeing them. On paper, their financial advisor would tell them don't do that. You know what I mean? If they was going by banking and going by coldness only, they wouldn't have done that. I'm not saying you defend them for slavery, because you don't defend them for slavery. You don't even defend them for freeing them, but you acknowledge that that's what happened. That's what happened in it. They got freed.
Brother, so have you landed? Is this a land?
No.
Because when you're telling me, just keep telling me why white people shouldn't have paid this and why it's generous here.
No, I'm saying you're equating reparations to us is the same as them paying off those people for getting for stopping slavery. These people wouldn't have stopped. They wouldn't have stopped. You're going on like they would have stopped. They would have just moved to Spain or France.
Remember, what you're doing is offensive to black people, not me personally, because I'm trained. But what I'm saying is there's going to be much anxiety or triggering. Because look, it's like this.
That's fine. I don't mind it. I don't mind.
We mind because we're black betters and we want black people to not be triggered by horrible things, right? But I'm saying this, right? That
horrible.
Well, I'll break it down. The Jews were put in an oven. The Jews were killed. The Jews were done this to in the World War I, right? Now, the Germans might not have wanted to stop, but they had to because it was wrong. Yeah, and even though there's an economic benefit in Germans killing Jewish people, meaning you can use their teeth to sell, you can use their head to put in pillows, you can use their bones to make stuff. This actually is very profitable, right? However, because it's wrong, the businesses that made money from that have to stop, right? And now, enslaving black people, sexually assaulting black women, kidnapping black people, beating black people, making black people forget their culture, forcing black people to live in a certain area, all this kind of stuff is wrong, right? And even though it's very profitable, even though it's very profitable, it doesn't matter because the profit and the moral is where the break happens. Yes, we can sexually assault women and make money. We can enslave women, put them in a brothel and make a lot of money, but because it's morally wrong, it needs to stop. But there's a culture where it's like, we're going to stop the pimps from doing that, but we're going to pay the pimps because they're going to lose their business. We're saying that if you could have paid the enslavers from them to now, you can pay the enslaved. That's simple. That's simple, really. Now, the more important, and I don't talk behind your back, I don't think you have been raised in any kind of pro-black environment or kind of pro-black collective, because they would have told you that immediately. Yeah, and what you're doing is not uncommon. Like I would say, the sheer mass of black people in the UK have not been raised around any form of B1 black pro-blackness at all. I think we have like a TV show variant. But and I'm saying it to be very clear to you, the way you and the other sister spoke, it demonstrates that you're not around a pro-black environment, and the sister was very triggered by certain things that were said, but actually the brothers and sisters are being very good not to actually go, wow, you're actually offending our ancestors. This is a problem, what you're saying, right?
I'll say, okay, you're saying you're saying I'm offending my ancestors, yeah. I'm offending my ancestors, yeah, by saying things how they are. To me, you said before we're gonna say things how they are, and when you're saying about the pro-black thing, if you don't thread the needle and make sure you do all, and make sure you marry a black woman, yeah, you ain't pro-black. To me, yeah, any sort of vitriol against the people because you're saying you can't marry a European because basically slavery was all of their fault. The sin of slavery is all white people's fault. So to me, you would be against when people try and go on like black people are all criminals. We hate that. But you'd tar a whole people with something, and especially when it was an extremely small proportion of the population that was even doing that. Most of them was indentured themselves anyway. So you're saying that we're despised. If you feel despised in the world, I feel for you. I hope you find people around you that don't despise you in it, because to me, I'm like, I've met so many people that have helped me through of all colors. I kind of stick to my own issue personally. I haven't really talked about myself personally, but me myself, I'm kind of more on the black side of things because I want my kids to have a culture similar to mine in it. So I've always kind of dated within that anyway myself. So I'm mixed race. I'm half black, half white. My missus is from Zimbabwe, and got a kid together, and he's obviously 3/4, so he's still mixed anyway. But I look at it like I wasn't doing it thinking if I don't do it, I'm not pro-black. I just did it because obviously it's my culture, and it's the people I resonate with the most. That's the way I grew up. What I don't like though, and I don't do it in myself as well, is the whole. I don't like anything that takes away the strength in yourself. So I look at it as facts only, instead of looking at like, look, they paid the slave owners. That don't make no sense. I try to look for, well, why did they do it? So when I found out why they did it, I'm like, okay, I can't say go back in time yet to a time when everyone was doing this slavery stuff, where everyone on the planet was doing the same thing. Because you're talking about rapes and torture that happened to every slave group in existence that's happened to. We are black, so we take in particular what's happened to our people, which makes sense. That makes sense. And like I said, it is particular because we got taken away from where we was to here. So then we didn't ever have a cultural basis. That's not happened to any other culture before. So right now, it's not a problem of reparations. It's a problem of culture. What we need to do as a culture.
Brother, look, the truth is, brother, we respect your opinions and the fact you give it, but you clearly haven't been raised around any kind of pro-blackness, right? If you would see. I'm being honest, brother.
That is fine. That is fine that you think that. It's okay. We can agree to disagree, innit?
Yeah, we can disagree, but what I'm saying is, I'm still waiting for. So if two aliens were listening to this podcast, they would go, which one is most for black people progressing by the things they're saying and the way they're saying it. And that's the challenge I give to every speaker, right? How can we talk in a way that we're constantly trying to unite and push forward black people without delay, right? So the fact is, if you're with a Zimbabwean woman, then you're already you can say, well, I'm with a Zimbabwean woman and this is good, and I'm starting a black family, blah blah, this kind of stuff. See, that's the kind of energy that we need, rather than marry who you want, love. It's like
you can marry who you want. You can marry who you want though. Mandating marriage, because marriage is for love, and like you love someone and you get married to them. Unless we're gonna do arranged marriages now. If we're gonna do arranged marriages, we can go that way, but there's not much satisfaction in those ones, and what's in the cultures that come out of that aren't always the most egalitarian anyway.
The arranged marriage, the Asian community arranged marriage, they have a much better kind of like economic rate and marriage success rate, right? Now they can come and give their own testimony about that, whatever. We're good.
Yeah, they can.
I'm saying this, right? I'm saying this, that we are trying to find templates to maximize black men loving black women, and that's either a good idea or a bad idea. As a pro-black person, that's a good idea.
Well, I've never said it's a good or a bad idea. I just said you can't do that. You can't tell people who they're going to marry.
Now, this is a question to you. Is it a good idea in the black community to try to have campaigns and branding that maximizes black men becoming constructive and wanting to marry black women? Is that a good idea or a bad idea?
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea.
Okay, so what?
You know what I mean? I don't think it's a bad idea.
Okay, so just so you know, what the reason you're here is that campaign is always going. We're always every comment is like, it's to just that, to maximize that black men want to be with black women. That's it. That's it.
That's understandable. You were saying, obviously, when you said to me, let's go and talk about the reparations thing. We don't agree on that in it. So I just look at it like we're not gonna agree, because I just look at it like it's very. To me, if you want to be pro-black, yeah, what's the name? If someone is black, you'd be pro them. You know what I mean? Unless they are actually actively against black people, because they'd be like, well, what's going on? What's going on? Yeah, I feel like if you're not actively against black people as a black person, yeah, I feel like if you're pro-black, you'd be pro them. So I don't think them getting with someone that you don't think they should would make you now less pro them. You know what I mean? Or look, because and you've done a hierarchy for it. So you've done your hierarchy for it. So it makes sense. I get it, but it's not conducive to progress, because progress comes with open-mindedness at the end of the day, and you have to be open-minded stuff. You can't look at someone and be like, you've made a choice now, and you're like you've done something bad to your culture or your race. So we'll just agree to disagree.
Brother Dom, you're projecting. No one's saying bad. We're saying that we gave you a black belt system, innit? What works best for the collective?
But you gave it levels, bro. You never said it's like it's adjacent. You said, oh, there's this one. That's the elite black belt. You gave it levels. So you've obviously you level people. You like classes.
Hold on, bro. This is where we're collectively inadequate. I'm letting you know that if you have a black movement for the betterment of black people, there has to be ideas that are the very echelon. And within the black community, yeah, being constructive and marrying someone within the group is the very echelon of how to produce a black family. There can be no discussion for that. If you want to know how to produce a black family, you pick someone within the community, right? Once you pick a non-black person, you don't have a black family, you have a mixed family, meaning your wife is not within the community. Your wife is another community.
Yeah.
Right? And by opening up your community to other communities, that's where you're going to have challenges, you see, because now they have to start making decisions that can benefit their community and your community, or themselves, and not you. You are not centered in their world. That's why the example we give is, would this ever,
you can't say that.
I'm going to give you an example. You can say no. Would they ever come and create institution to pay back for reparations before they marry you? If you said the only way I'm going to marry you is if you get institutions resurrected to pay back reparations, would they do that? The chances are no, and they wouldn't.
Ridiculous, bro. That's absolutely ridiculous.
It's very ridiculous. They wouldn't, and we can demonstrate that now. That
no, the whole concept, that whole concept is ridiculous. Like what you said there is ridiculous. Like I feel like any same person would hear that and be like, "Well, what the hell? You want people to jump through hoops to get married? Come on, man. They're not going to do that. And no one would do that. From our side as well. If roles reversed, we wouldn't do that neither. I feel like I think this is a fallacy that a lot of people have. A lot of people feel like they'd be the special Germans that wouldn't join the Nazis. You know what I mean? Everyone feels like they're the special ones that wouldn't do the messed up things that are of the time. Because right now, there's a lot of people doing a lot of stuff here that 50, 60 years ago would have been culturally terrible. Like you're going to get ostracized from your family. But people are doing this and literally put it on social media for everyone to see, because cultures change and over time. Back then, everyone was doing those kind of crimes. The crimes that we say is crimes against humanity. Everyone was doing it back then. Everyone. And most people weren't trying, and the people that was benefiting from it, yes, slavery, and it was worse.
Yeah, but brother Dom, I'm remember, just so you know, when you leave the show, I'm gonna do my synopsis, my analysis of it, right? And maybe people will jump on. And you're always welcome to come back next week. And if you listen to the show, you're gonna hear stuff. And I don't want to say things when you're not here, so I want to be very clear, yeah, that I suspect you've done many good things where black people have benefited, and I suspect that you're a good person, when it comes to the life you want to live. But there's no difference between you and the mass of black people who are not synchronized with any form of real consistent black betterment concept. And that we feel that we're inadequate, that we can't define an echelon purpose, like what is the very best for a group to do. And even in that concept, people are just like, "What? This is mad. We shouldn't have that." It's like we reject these concepts. We're saying that because we're pro-black, we put black first in everything, and there is no disagreement about that. And now, what the thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find a way of promoting black love, but minimizing anxiety it might cause to people with one black parent. That's the goal. That is the goal. So you're here for that reason. Like, we're gonna go very hard on the Black Love campaign, but we want the people with one black parent to know they're loved and they're part of the solution if they so choose. But what we won't do is we won't ever change and say we don't want the constructive black man to marry the constructive black woman. This will never change.
I don't think you should.
It will never will. What I'm saying is, if this changes, I leave and I become something else, right? Because this is the fundamental. Like through the research I've done, there is no. I've tried to look at so many things like what is greater than this concept, and when you get down to holistic help, nothing is better than a constructive black man marrying a constructive black woman. Nothing is better. I've tried to look in the heavens, in the seas, in the skies. I have not seen it. And I'm saying that the reason why we're collectively inadequate is so many of our members don't even understand that. When we talk to brothers and sisters who are descendants of enslaved themselves, they are talking on the defense of the Europeans, not the defense of the Africans, not the defense of the black. And this happens by osmosis. Yeah, and that's what we're trying to unpack. And I think I've been very
because no one's villainizing that side. That's why you don't defend a side that's already being defended. Literally, they're always it's if you look at it, you can't. You're not gonna. There's no reason to mount a defense for anything that's already fully defended. Like we know. The underdogs in this situation, was the enslaved. Like we're the ones that had to go through, and had to build back a whole culture. Like, and we're still on the way to doing it. You know, it's not a small thing. It's just that you have to frame it within the framework of reality. Though it wasn't particular and it wasn't special. It was something that was happening all over the world. If you're looking at anything,
brother, it was particular. Chattel slavery, or what the black African community went through, was unseen of, and the legacy of it was far more devastating than it could be observed. Even groups that have gone through 4 years of persecution have enough to bounce back because they were still connected to what made them them. Black people have gone through a genesis, a kidnapping, a 400, 500, 600, 700.
Like I was saying, it wasn't particular, other than the fact that they got taken away from where they was, because otherwise they would have got enslaved by someone next door. But the thing is, these.
Brother, let me jump in and you jump, because it's a very important point. There will be a man who has a son, and that son will go to jail or go to a restaurant, and he might be sexually assaulted by 2 men, right? Now, the father is enraged and he's trying to get justice for the son who's been sexually assaulted by 2 men. What isn't beneficial is to go, well, the thing is, there are other people in Peru who were sexually assaulted by 3 men. You see, that's what we're doing. I'm saying that regardless.
No, you're not doing that.
It's a very important point, though. Very important point. I'm saying
but
that
it doesn't map across. It doesn't map across. It's not a good metaphor.
Consistently, and here's how it does. We're saying that regardless if you could find better or worse, the fact that we've gone through this concept, we want this response to it as a collective unit. Now, if you cannot understand that, then that's where we are questioning if you have been around a pro-black community who will educate on the importance of these concepts. That's what I'm saying. That's what we're saying, brother. Now,
I think the importance here, like I said, I've already explained what I feel like is important for the black community.
Listen, you and Sister Catherine, first of all, thank you for coming on. You're always welcome and you're always loved. And you did really well for your speaking. You spoke for yourself. It can be very nervous. And we normally invite the panel one, which we have, to be honest, but we won't let them go this time. But because I feel that because you might be new to these kind of ways, it's probably best to bleed you into what to expect. Now, we operate by a certain kind of constructive rule sets here. But usually when people leave, we give our analysis. Now, we talk about being synchronized and unsynchronized with Black Betterment, and there's a few things you said that are very synchronized, but overall there's certain things that were unsynchronized. I mean that we're not really in the same direction in our trajectory of where we're trying to get black people, or how to get there, right? But as if you're interested, you're always welcome to come back on or a separate part 2, and then maybe at that future time you could talk to others. But I'm gonna give my analysis to the people, and maybe they might jump in. So I'm gonna push off. But is there any last things you'd like to say? But I'd like to give you a thank you, say, because you've spoke really well, by the way, bro. So is there any last things you'd like to say, bro?
Just that. Say truth. Now I feel like I've said enough. Like
Yeah, indeed.
there's no except for the fact that when I'm looking at ways for progress in the community, it's just about passing down skills from people that are already skilled within our community. I feel like that's the best way to get the culture across. That's the best way to to keep even the black families together, because the more people are seeing good examples of people, because if you've got a skill base and you've got a trade or whatever, and you teach it to the younger generation underneath, they're seeing they're not just seeing you probably meet your wife and meet your kids and that, so they'll see that example. It's like we can mandate it all we want. I just don't think that will work. I feel like all that will do is cause more arguments. I feel like the best way to do it is just have examples. Let's bring back going to church and stuff, and bringing back of just showing it. Because when I was young, I used to see a lot of black families when I went to church with my nan and stuff like that. Like I feel like that kind of thing is like slipping away a bit, if you know what I mean, especially in the younger generations and that. Like it's not cool anymore, innit? Like, and it's kind of so. But other than that, yeah, nah, not really. I haven't really got anything else to say, you know.
Well, brother, you spoke really well, and I disagree with much of what you said, but there are certain things that I felt were in the right direction from a black Betterment perspective. We would like to hear you again, and we would like to set up part 2 and with the sister as well, and maybe at some point invite the others so you can actually understand where they're coming from. But yeah, if you listen to the show afterwards, you disconnect, you will hear my other thoughts, so you can just stay on the thing and listen. But we're gonna give our breakdown. But you know. Let me give a breakdown, and then I guess in the future time we can jump in, or we can arrange again on Instagram. But
what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna have to shoot off myself, you know, because I've been on here for quite a while. So
so you go, and we'll speak again in the thing. But thank you, brother. You did good representing your.
That's okay. Thank you for giving me a platform. And let me speak.
There you go, brother.
I really appreciate it. Yeah, man. What's the name? I'll see you another time.
Black Betterment too, brother. Another time. See ya.
Bye.
All right. So, family, if anyone wants to jump in, you can. We're going to end it pretty soon. If anyone wants to give their analysis of that. Now, some people are confused why I do these kind of stuff. I've been in a whole lot of forums, and I invite many people to jump on to give their perspective. It's just awareness of what we're dealing with and the unsynchronization and stuff. What we're saying is extreme to them. And remember we talked about white lightning, as in like the philosophies of how see no color, this kind of stuff, and how that has entered the community, and especially when people have mixed unions, mixed marriages. I would think language is important. I would say you never want to give people who are unsynchronized a way to bail out and say, oh, because you're speaking this way, I'm not offended. Let's talk about being offended. I'm saying try to be as constructive as possible and try to always highlight what we're trying to do. But yeah, that was interesting. So for those who listen, we had 2 people with one black parent jump on, and I met them in a forum. One, I was talking about concept of before a black person marries a non-black person, ask them their views of reparations, because that might impact whether you be with them, and that triggered 600 people to abuse me. And then the other one was a woman who said that she was raised pro-black by her European aunt or grandma or something like this. And that triggered, can you be pro-black and marry a non-black person? That kind of old question, what it is. And once again, I said, you lose a title. And once again, have you noticed that when I was speaking, a lot of negativity was pushed towards things that wasn't said, like, oh, you're doing this and you're saying this and you're saying that this is wrong, this is bad, and people can't be this. Who are you to judge? That kind of thing. When what was said wasn't really heard, and that's the pre kind of thinking. What's your conclusion on the cover boy ribbon? Yeah, so for me, I think the conclusion is this: it's not everyone can be synchronized, and we understand that, but I think it strengthens why we have to have black veterans. Really. Like, you have to be able to in a room say, I am for black people, And these areas is where I'm from, and that's black health, black economics, and black thinking. And the sister did try to give an example of why do you shop on Amazon, and that was her like, and she can come back next week and justify that with them. But once again, we're saying that the overall goal is that whatever you're doing, you're trying to end up with black people. Unfortunately, if you choose to marry someone, you can't end up with black people because you're in a lifelong commitment. So that's why shopping from Amazon is one thing, especially, you know, but the idea is to create institutions where you can shop from and sustain those. The thing is, people want to be pro-black because it sounds cool and sexy, but they're not actually thinking, what does that pro-black mean? So that's why you're trying to talk people who, and that's why, and I don't mean to be disrespectful. That's why I say we wouldn't see the title of pro-blackness on you when we give the vegan analogy, because it's very problematic where you have pro-black people and they will never speak any kind of pro-black concept. They'll say it, but they'll spend their time defending why you should not marry within the group and why you should support other business and why other communities shouldn't have to pay reparations and why it's a long, uphill struggle to get them to create institutions and why you should just ignore reparations. This is not important. You've got a chip on your shoulder. This is like learned behavior from the next week I'm going to make a list of all the things that was said in the forum I was in when I asked black, do you support reparations to Europeans, and they go, you should go back to Africa, or you should get it from the Africans they enslaved you, or we want it from the Arab pirates or something like that. Do you want us to go and ask the Romans for slavery? All this kind of stuff, right? No one really cares about what happened to a people group and the legacy of that people group, and they shouldn't. And we're using these as case studies to be synchronized to say that collectively black people have no friends. Even though I was saying this constantly that we have no friends, there was no kind of sympathy or man. Maybe it was more so, you feel sorry yourself, or not everyone's that bad. And that's why black people always are expected to go through the worst but have the biggest spot. Why have we not yet seen an Akala type character yet from the dual heritage community, Bro Raven? Well, he is that type, right? Why have we not yet seen? Well, we have. He's that type, right? I believe the reason he was that type was because he was raised in a Pan-African school, and that's why pro-blackness, Pan-Africanism being one. That's what we're doing here. So they're going to be against it. So as you see, I was very clear: black men marrying black women, black community. The brothers and sisters couldn't really mention black people, and that's one of the first kind of boundaries that you can't mention. You're trying to help, right? I help people. I help my friends. Trauma and that kind of thing of. Find one person and go, what are you doing? Tell me how you're going to deal with this particular problem with trauma or psychoengineering or whatever. Well, I can give you my breakdown, but really, we want to make the lifestyle appealing so people who specialize in that practice it and they handle it. But this is the drive-by criticism. Now, I hope the sister can come back because I'm not trying to talk behind the back of it. But you have not seen that. You have not seen that type yet jump on the panel. No, well, to be honest with you, the way the forums I'm in, it's complete bombardment from many unseen. So I invite others like the dynamic of the black woman or the black man who marries a non-black person and how they think the person is unsynchronized. A lot of this stuff is the unsynchronized work. But yeah, I'm never going to come here and say that the majority of any group are pro-black or anything. I don't see how any person can be pro-black if we don't have it as a lifestyle or a cultural thing we promote. So just reading what Brother Foster that is saying. But one of the things I would say, brothers, is whenever you should expect that many people think this way. So try not to let it trigger. And there's many things I could have said, but I don't think it was really worth going down that path. But more of the case study of demonstrating that why we have to have these philosophies, and I think that demonstrated it, that two people who identify as pro-black never really gave any kind of pro-black concept, and I feel that might explain that will only cause more upset to them, and if they listen afterwards, they can jump back on, But this is the thing where, as an alleged pro-black person, you're not getting any kind of concept where black people work together. There is no actual clear definition that this is what we want to do. Now, family, I've put the link out there. If anyone wants to jump in and give their analysis for 5 minutes before we end, you can. If not, I'm gonna leave. And I never got to fully cover the black barbecue, so we're gonna push that next week. Very important. There's Europeans or non-black people who are saying horrible things publicly, and that's because they've been invited to the barbecue, as they say, as an analogy, right? As in they feel very comfortable. And what we want to do is definitely break all that kind of stuff. Brother Foster, you're always welcome to the part 3 if you even want. We saw 2 of people who have one black parent. I know you didn't agree with much of what they were saying, or maybe some, I don't know. But you're always welcome to jump in. Well, family, I'm going to end the show there if no one's going to jump in, has any questions. If you've got any questions, put it quickly now because I'm going to end. But hopefully, we demonstrate today why it's important to raise children with pro-blackness and the challenges by having mixed unions can come if people are not really around pro-black people particularly. And that can happen with 2 black parents as well, not just one. Once again, the analysis of how people observe. I mean, there's a lot of saying things there like, we try to explain that the percentage of black men who don't marry black women, but enough they will listen to that. But yeah, don't let these things trigger. When we have to speak, we're coming from one perspective, they're coming from another perspective, but we're coming from the black betterment perspective. I suspect they're coming from the white right in the perspective. Now our ways are new to them. We try to present certain kind of like frameworks where they're like, oh, not understand. Well, they understand it, but it's new to them. So the things need. That's why I wasn't too keen on people jumping on because I suspected it would have been too good. Pro-black, but dating outside your race just contradicts the word pro-black. It really does. And this is the thing. But once again, this is why I said if you go to Google, the most Google thing for pro-black is can you date outside your race. This shows that there is this kind of subservience that needs to be expunged. But yep, come Raven comparing them to Danny Roscoe is not. I don't know who did that. Has someone done that? I'm not too sure. I'm not. Did I say that? I don't know if I did say that. I have spoken to that brother, and he's very unsynchronized as well, but in different areas. But yeah, like I said, the thing is, those brothers and sisters always have a space on here, and they might be offended by certain terms and words we use, but they're hearing the output, they're not hearing the input. When you hear the input, it makes the output make more sense. So, family, I'm gonna go, but check us next week. Check the playback, and hopefully we can have a part 2, or maybe I can find if there's any other topic you want to cover, we can cover it. But we're gonna end now, and you've got some chores to do. Blah 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 blah. But you guys are good. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and all the good stuff that people tend to do. But until then, Black Betterment, and I'm ending now. If anyone wants to speak off camera, click it now as I end the thing. So I think you can do it now. I don't know. But we can end the stream now. So 5, 4, 3, 2. Dun, 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 dun. Boom.